for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge to the flag. We'll have our invocation at the proper time. Commissioner Cheryl Wilson will lead us in our pledge to the flag. Would you stand, please? Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the day. We're thankful for all the blessings that you give us in life, and bless us tonight as we conduct the business of this county. Watch over us, protect us, bless those that we need to remember in our prayers, but especially, Father, remember and bless our family members, and especially Brother Williamson that's defending his country tonight. Bless other members of the families of this body and this community as they're about in all parts of the world to protect the freedoms that we so enjoy each day of our life. Bless us, be with us, and forgive us is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated, please. Our clerk, Miss Elaine Anderson, is out of town tonight in a meeting in Knoxville with other government officials. In her absence tonight, we'll have our deputy clerk taking our minutes and our records. At this point in time, if you're present, press your present button. We'll have a roll call, please. If you're not present, don't push it.
22 present, 2 absent. Commissioner Brockman and Commissioner Greer absent.
Commissioner Brockman is out of town on business, as well as Commissioner Greer, so we'll be missing them tonight as a part of our activity. Approval of minutes of the regular October 8, 2007 County Commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion. Motion made and seconded by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Little, Tommy Little. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. Introduction and acceptance of the Highway Commission minutes. I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Langston the motion, Commissioner Walton the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. Citizens communication. We have no one that signed up tonight, so we will move on through the agenda. As a part of communications and messages, we want to thank Dwayne Perry and his staff for providing an excellent meal for us at the Ag Expo Center tonight, and had a wonderful meal and get together there. So thank them for that, and for all of you that were able to attend. If you didn't get to attend, you missed a very excellent meal. Got several things to bring to your attention tonight before we get started. Some housekeeping things. First of all, Lynn Sutton is here as our Sergeant at Arms, and as we typically do, if you have a cell phone or a pager, we please would ask you to put it on silent and have it not disturb the legislative body as we're meeting tonight, so we thank you for that assistance. Have a late file resolution 110730. This is a resolution that's addressing an issue with a parking garage at Williamson Medical Center because of some cutoff deadlines and timing. This was late filed. It's been brought to our attention. We need to take care of this resolution tonight. Is there any objection to hearing resolution 1107-30? 1107-30. I see no objection, so we'll add that on the agenda as the last item that will be listed on the agenda as it's listed. We also need to take resolution number 22, that's on the consent agenda. If you would, please find that resolution. It was included on the consent agenda, 110722, and we need to move that off of the consent agenda to the regular appropriations section of our agenda tonight, because it is an appropriation resolution that will require the vote of this body. So 110722 that's on the consent will need to be added under the appropriation resolutions for consideration tonight. We will put that, well, we can take it and add it,
I think it was after 18.
yeah, let's add it after 18 under appropriations. Thank you, Commissioner Walton. We'll add that after number 18 on the agenda for appropriations. And then we have late file resolution number 110731. This is a resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Administration of Justice budget by, and on the agenda it says 111,11111. It's 11,111.11. So make that correction on your agenda. Is there any objection to hearing 110731 this evening? I see no objection, so we'll add that at its place. And then you have been handed, correct, Diane, you've been handed an amendment on that resolution that amends it to a different amount. So please, if you would, add the proposed amendment to 110731. Make sure that's handy, and we'll be addressing that this evening as an amendment to that resolution 110731. Resolution 110726. This is the resolution of intent to fund the purchase of property and certain improvements and renovations for various community parks and recreational facilities. If there's no objection from any of the body, Mr. Hood has a business commitment that he needs to keep, and we need to move that up. And I'll just put that at the front of the appropriations resolutions 110726. Unless is there any objection to moving 110726 as the first appropriations resolution we'll hear this evening? I see no objection, so Mr. Hood will hear that as the first appropriation resolution tonight. This time, I think that's all the communications and messages. Are there any other messages or communications that we need to discuss before we go into the main part of the agenda and report of the county offices? Diane, do we have the new comprehensive plans
Yes.
that are here? There we go. You should have at your place a copy of the comprehensive land use plan that was adopted, and a cover letter talking about this program. So please take note of that. You do have that in your possession. This has been approved by this body and ultimately by the appropriate agencies, and it's being distributed to all the parties involved. Very well. Moving on to reports of county offices. County Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to come up again this evening. If you would, I'd like to ask David to step up, Mr. Coleman, and give us a financial snapshot of the county and answer any questions.
In your packet tonight, we have the 3 items that we normally present to you each month, and the first of those is your monthly budget report through the end of the month of September. Gives you the snapshot of the first quarter of the fiscal year. Nothing unusual there. Everything appears to be in order and moving along in the budget process. Of course, it's a little early at this point on our revenue side as far as property taxes, but we will start seeing those come in slowly October, November, and then a little more in December and January. The report from the Cool Springs Marriott, a very good report, $72,866 for the month of September. Did not go back and look at the history. If that's not the best month, it's right up there with the best month that we've ever had from the Marriott. Had a little slow start in the summer, but they're picking up very well. Also, we have the privilege tax report included in your packet with September, and then today the report for the month of October came out on the new adequate school facilities tax. At the end of October, we've collected just over $1 million. We have not distributed that to any of the cities yet. We've been waiting to get all the paperwork in order. One of the requirements of that act is that each one of those has to have a 5-year CIP approved, and all the cities but one have provided that. So we will just start distributing that money to those cities. And the one city that did not have one 5-year CIP is addressing that at their board meeting tonight. So we'll start distributing that 30% of that adequate schools facilities to those cities. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Any questions of Mr. Coleman? I see none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. Mr. Chairman, the only remark that I would have would be on Resolution 110729. During the Budget Committee, there were several of you there, but many of you did not hear the remarks on 110729, which is almost at the very end. We're asking for permission to refinance some bonds. Several weeks ago, Rutherford County sold some bonds, and if we'd had an opportunity to get back into the market at that particular time, we probably could have saved a little money. So in dealing with our bond counsel on this amount of money, $19 million plus, we're asking for permission. When that opportunity should come up during the remainder of this year that we're working on, we'd like to be able to get in and take advantage of that. I will assure you that several of you have asked about when we do refinancing, we do not extend the time that the bonds would be refinanced. So all we're asking for is permission when there is an opportunity for that to come about, that we be able to jump into the market and save the money when we possibly can. Likewise with that, this next year we're going to try to figure out a way. We've asked legal staff to to address that and put that in the form of a resolution at our July County Commission meeting. So if an opportunity does come up during the course of the year, that would give us the flexibility to go in and make these savings when we possibly can. So I will answer any questions that you may have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions of Mayor Anderson? Excuse me, Commissioner Hayes, please.
Mayor, have you been in touch at all with any of the cities again about the request of us getting their sales tax part or privilege tax?
Oh, their privilege tax, adequate school.
Right, all right.
I don't think they'd want to separate with that sales
you're right.
tax.
Yeah, the adequate facilities.
We did make some contact with several of the cities. We will have to make a return journey, as you heard Mr. Coleman say. Some of the paperwork has not been completed. We do have Fairview and Nolensville. Both of those have already signed the paperwork and sent it back in. Brentwood is pretty close to addressing some of those things, and at the time we presented it to Franklin, they were in the middle of an election time, and so they kind of wanted to wait till after the election. Some of the other areas are having to work on some other additional paperwork, but if we don't receive something by the first part of next year, we'll be returning, making another trip down, asking for some kind of commitment to these school projects.
Anything further? Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I did overlook one thing, and I looked at my notes. I want to say thank you to all the commissioners, and particularly to Tom Bain, who worked so hard behind the scenes on establishing the cannon that's out at the Veterans Five Points area here in Franklin. If you haven't had the opportunity to go see it and observe it, to see how some of your tax dollars were spent, $12,500 was spent on that project. And we're most appreciative of Mr. Leathers over in Murfreesboro, who actually took it under his arm and followed it through. Had the wheels sent off to Pennsylvania, and they were reconstructed. And yesterday, prior to the Franklin parade, the dedication was for that cannon. Many of you were there, but some of you weren't. It was well received. I'm not sure exactly how many people we had there, but particularly those men and women that had served this country and were able to attend there. There was a lot of emotion in a lot of people's eyes yesterday, so it was. I appreciate all of you participating, allow us to do this. Thank you.
Commissioner Bain, you have any follow-up?
No, it was a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Two other items under communications before we move on. You have in front of you two pieces of information I'd like to discuss with you. You have the nominee information for elections and appointments for school board representative from a 3rd district. This was on the agenda, but through the discussion and review with the candidates interested, the two commissioners agreed on this individual and is proposing and recommending Janine Moore this evening for their replacement. Like I said, it's on the agenda appropriately, but this information did not get in the packet, but tonight we'll hear that and make that appointment unless there's some objection to doing that tonight. Any objection whatsoever? I see no objection, so we'll take that into consideration. And then in front of you, you have this memorandum from Bobby Cook as it relates to marriage opinion. There have been several questions over the last few months on how many witnesses are required when you perform a marriage ceremony or you conduct and bestow the marriage rights on individuals as a commissioner. And as you see in Bobby's response, how many witnesses are needed. Tennessee law doesn't require any witnesses, but the current form that's being provided by Ms. Anderson's office is permissible in the state of Tennessee because it asks for one witness and that one signature does not violate the law. It gets complicated if there are further contracts of marriages issued, but we'll not go there. But there's not a requirement for a witness, but one witness is appropriate. Some of you said, well, I didn't turn in two, I only turned in one, and that's totally acceptable. And then the other question that was asked just a couple of weeks ago, where can I marry people? Inside the county, outside the county? Well, up until 1997, you could only perform marriage ceremonies as a Williamson County Commissioner in Williamson County. With the change of the law, you can perform marriages in any county in the state of Tennessee. So be aware that you can start traveling the state to perform these ceremonies. But that question had come up, and thank you, Bobby, for putting that information together for us. Because, yes, Commissioner Smith?
A question to that. Coincidentally, today I heard from a former county executive that although he was out of office, he still had the authority to perform weddings. Does that apply to county commissioners as well?
Yeah, I actually do believe that's correct. It applies to anybody who's elected.
Come to the mic, please, Bobby.
The statute actually lists several elected officials that do fall under this ability, this authority that you're granted, and even after you leave office, you still have this authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You can tie them, but you can't undo them.
Hopefully when I tie them, they don't need.
Very well. Okay, moving now. Williamson County Schools Director, Dr. Becky Sharber.
Thank you. Good evening. I know that most of you probably get an opportunity to read our weekly for your information that we send out, trying to keep you updated on the things that go on a weekly basis in the Williamson County school system. And I hope you all have signed up for our every other week In Focus email newsletter. And if you have not had a chance to do that, it is chock full of wonderful information, and the video stories that are in the In Focus are just priceless. And they really give you a great sense of some things that are happening in the school district of which you might or might not be aware, and having videos of it is just even better. So if you haven't had an opportunity to sign up for our In Focus email newsletter, all you need to do is go to our website, and there's a place where you can click on it and just say you want to have this and put in your email address, and it will send you that In Focus. And I'm not sure if all of you did that through your county email or if some of you have done it or not, but it was just fresh on my mind because the latest one had some great video stories in it, and it has stories that don't have any videos attached, and sometimes they're just pictures. But those latest video ones were really special. The State of Tennessee report card has come out since we met last, and Williamson County did very well, as they did last year. We again had a second year in a row where we achieved all A's in achievement and all A's in value added. And I understand it's also the second year in a row that Williamson County and Shelby County were the only county, and especially large county districts in the state, to achieve all A's in both value added and achievement. Several smaller school districts, especially city and special school districts, did achieve that. But in terms of having a large county school district, we were one of two, as we were last year. And you should be very proud of that, because of the funding that you give to the school system, we're able to put that money to good use and to good work with our students and help them achieve at that level. So we appreciate your contribution in that, as well as the board's contribution and all of the teachers and parents, and especially the students, for giving it their best effort. So I wanted to let you know about that. And we have some resolutions before you this evening that may or may not take some time, so I won't take a lot of time this evening on these announcements, but I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have if I can, or find you the answers if I don't have them immediately available.
Any questions of Dr. Sharber? I see none.
Thank you very much.
Any other committee wishing to report or anything at this time? See none. Moving on to elections and appointments, zoning ordinance update steering committee, mayor's recommendations, John Lackey and Bob Ring. I'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Commissioner Bain, Commissioner Walton, the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. County Commission appointments, Beer Board. Beer Board at Large Representative Tommy Randolph. Nomination Tommy Randolph. And then the Southeast Section Representative Tom Wilson. Nomination Tom Wilson. Commissioner Hayes the motion. Commissioner Jones the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. School Board appointment, 3rd District, unexpired term, serving until the next general election, which will be August of '08. Resigned Ralph Ringstaff. Nominee, I'll recognize Commissioners Hayes and Lynch.
We would like to nominate Janine E. Moore for that place, please.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Hayes, second by Commissioner Lynch, to nominate Janine Moore. Are there other nominations from the floor for this position? Commissioner Barnwell moved that they be closed. Who was the second? Commissioner Langston the second. That Ms. Moore be elected by acclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimous election. Ms. Moore is here. Would you like to come forward and make all of the folks happy to know that you are here and you did show up?
I did show up, and County Commissioners, thank you very much for your vote of confidence. I am really excited about the opportunity to serve the county. I've got a lot to learn, and I'll be jumping in tomorrow morning. Thank you.
If I could just say to you, as soon as you can, you need to get with the clerk and have your oath of office administered and sign the book and get all that taken care of so that you can be official.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'll work
ma'am.
on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Hayes, did you have a follow-up?
I was just going to mention that her resume is in front of you, and you can see why she was such a good candidate.
Thank you very much. Stormwater Appeals Board, Commercial Residential Development Representative, term expiring January of '08. Mr. Denzel Carbine, as you know, is deceased. The nominee to replace him is Mr. Dan Crunk. Motion is made and seconded that we approve Mr. Dan Crunk. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. Mr. Crunk, are you here? I don't see Mr. Crunk. Very good. Engineering representative to the Stormwater Appeals Board. Engineering representative, term expiring January '09. Resigned is Mike Delvisis. Nominee is Richard Rick Schuff.
Second.
Commissioner Walton the motion, Commissioner Green the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. I know Mr. Schuff is here. Mr. Schuff, would you please stand? Thank you very much, sir. Zoning ordinance update from the steering committee. Steering committee recommendations are for Commissioners Mary Brockman and Commissioner Judy Hayes. That's a nomination from the steering committee. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Mills the motion, Commissioner Walton the second. To approve Commissioners Brockman and Hayes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimous. Planning Commission recommendation is Mr. Tom Murdick.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mills, second by Commissioner Lynch. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimous. Notaries, you have been presented the list of notaries for appointment this evening by the clerk's office. I'll entertain a motion to accept those. Commissioner Wilson the motion, Commissioner Walton the second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimous. Consent agenda. You have resolutions number 110711, 110725. Let's skip 10. Okay. And resolution 110710, accepting the roads in the River Landing subdivision. So they're three resolutions under the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to accept. Commissioner Walton moved, Commissioner Williams the second, to accept the consent agenda. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show it unanimous. Thank you. Unfinished business, there is none. New business, moving on to zoning. We do have a public hearing this evening. Public hearing regarding resolution number 110712, resolution to amend Article 12 of the Williamson County zoning ordinance regarding regulations for wastewater treatment of land disposal systems. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you are here, would you come to the podium? We'll give you an opportunity to address this body. Identify yourself, give us your name and your address. Anyone wishing to address this body tonight as a part of the public hearing for this zoning issue? I see none. Public hearing is closed. We'll now take up resolution number 110712, resolution to amend Article 12 of the Williamson County zoning ordinance regarding regulations for wastewater treatment and land disposal systems. Commissioner Walton. Commissioner Williams is second on 110712. Committee reports, Planning Commission report, Commissioner Walton.
9-4-0 against.
The Wastewater Authority voted 4-0 against. Explanation, Commissioner Walton, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This simplifies the buffer zone requirements by consolidating all requirements into one section. Currently, they're in 4 different sections.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Commissioner Walton on 110712? I see none. If you're in favor of 110712, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please, Jeff.
22 yes.
22 yes, 0 no. Resolution unanimously adopted. Moving into appropriations. Resolution number 110726, resolution of intent to fund the purchase of property and certain improvements and renovations for various community parks and recreation facilities. Commissioner Little, please.
Move for approval. Second.
Second, Commissioner Mills, the Parks and Recreation Committee. Parks and Recreation Committee report. So it's a unanimous vote on the Parks and Rec Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Little, please.
Part of the Parks and Recreation split up into like a 3-year plan of parks projects totaling $4 million over a 3-year period. This is the first year of expending those funds, divided up into all these different areas among the different parks and making improvements. Mr. Doug Hood is here for any questions. This has been thoroughly discussed in committees.
Very good. Commissioner Tommy Little, please.
Yes, after speaking with a few county commissioners tonight, I'd like to make an amendment to this to include a couple of projects at 2 high schools to bring fences into regulation. I'd like to amend $40,000 to this, $10,000 for moving the fences at Fairview High School, and $30,000 for moving the dugouts at Page High School to put them within regulations for TSSAA.
Who was the second? Commissioner Lynch, the second. Okay, so there's an amendment on the floor to add 30,000. 30,000? 40,000.
40,000.
10,000 at Fairview, 30,000 at Page. Where's that money to come from, Commissioner Little, please?
I would assume it would add with the funding of this current resolution, which was from the bonds.
Okay. All right, that's a proper amendment. Discussion on the amendment. We've got several people want to speak. Is this on the amendment, Commissioner Parra? Anybody else wanting to speak on the amendment? Commissioner Ford, please.
Just a quick question. Why are we doing projects out of the Parks and Rec at the individual schools? Why is that not becoming under something that the schools will be bringing us?
That, for me,
For whoever.
the fields at Page were built by Parks and Rec, and that's why to correct the dugouts were made in the outfield. And when they were originally built, coaches could stay outside the dugout to coach. Now they are required to stay in the dugout, which puts them coaching from the outfield instead of the infield. So since they were built by Parks and Rec, it was including this in the Parks and Recs to fix the problem.
Does Parks and Rec use these facilities to run their programs, or are they used by school teams?
They have in the past been used by Parks and Rec. I don't know that they are being used right now, but they are currently being used by school teams. Parks and some rec teams have practiced on the field. They don't play games on it.
Seems like to me the appropriate place would be to amend, especially since we got a schools budget tonight that makes some modifications into athletic facilities. Seems like if that's the appropriate place for the money to come from for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, you want to speak on the amendment? Okay. Mr. Hood, you have any recommendation on this amendment? Any comment on it, please?
No, sir, I don't have any comment, whatever you decide.
Okay, all right. You've heard the amendment to 110726 to increase it by $40,000 for Fairview High School, $10,000, $30,000 for Page High School, total of $40,000. That's the amendment offered by Commissioner Tommy Little. Any other discussion on the amendment? Let's vote on the amendment that's on the floor to increase it by $40,000. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please.
14 yes, 8 no.
14 yes, 8 no. So the amendment to this resolution is adopted. Further discussion on the motion that's on the floor. Commissioner Barnwell, please.
Chairman, I'm a little concerned of intending to fund a project that is a first phase. In a future resolution today, we're going to lock the school system into a $24 million all-up project. And I think we should also do this through all of the projects we do. We need an all-up number before we approve it, so I'm having a hard time supporting this. And I also went back to the master plan that we paid $100,000 to have done, and soccer fields for Nolensville aren't even in there, and I've never seen an amendment to this to say that they actually need them. So I'm curious about that also. I'm having a hard time supporting this. And also, the bond funds, did I hear last week that the privilege tax was going to pay back these bonds? Could somebody clarify that for me?
Mr. Chairman, if I can address that statement, I think there was a statement made that there would be a limit each year from the Parks and Rec privilege tax to $350,000. We've been doing $400,000 or $500,000 a year for parks equipment each year out of privilege tax. We would limit that to $350,000, and anything above $350,000 could go towards the bonds. That's not to say that it would 100% pay them off, but it would go towards that, anything above $350,000 each year.
Well, I still think we need an all-up price for these a major project like a soccer field, because this tip of the iceberg, approving a project normally comes back to bite us in several years down the road, and they keep on asking for more money. So I'd like to see I can't support this particular resolution.
Mr. Hood, would you come address that, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the reason we did that with Nolensville, and Commissioner Barnwell is correct, it was not in the master plan, but the program is growing so large out there at Nolensville. They play on 2 fields. That's what they play on next to a water plant that we own, and the program is growing by hundreds of children. So we were able to purchase property with the money that you allocated years ago for property to purchase property around the county, and we bought 33+ acres off McCandless. And to do this, the way this is set up under Mayor Anderson's plan, and the plan we discussed was, this is a $12 million plan over 3 years with $4 million each year, and then using excess funds from the privilege tax to pay for this. We had a cost analysis done to find out what it would cost to get the soccer fields started and playable, and that will take care of the grading of the fields, in which we're going to talk, hopefully, to the Highway Department to help us with that, building a parking lot and building and irrigating the surface for them to play, to get the kids on the fields to play. Mr. Barnwell is correct. It does not finish the project by any means, but it will give us the opportunity to give these kids a place to play, and that's why we did it this way.
Follow-up, Commissioner Barnwell?
Yeah, you know, next we're going to see, well, we need concession stands, we need toilets, we need this, we need that.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
To me, this is a tip of the iceberg of what this project's going to cost, and I just can't see how we as a commission can validly support this at this point in time. I'm not saying it's a bad project, I just think you need better numbers to let us know what we're looking at in the future for this all-encompassing thing, since we're doing the same thing to schools. So that you should be treated no different than they do in the schools.
Mr. Chairman, what I might tell you is that in this complex, if this helps the commission make a decision, there will be lights at some time on that complex, there will be toilets and a concession stand and a parking lot. There won't be anything else. That's what it will be.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Williams?
I don't really have a question for Mr. Hood. In looking at this, and what brought this really to my attention is I was around the courthouse a lot today, and several people came up to me and commented about the article that was in the newspaper about $12 million for soccer fields. And so I went to see what the paper said and seen the breakdown of this. And I agree a lot with what Mr. Barnwell said in the cost and not knowing the cost and the things that have come. We're at a time in this county where all the sports complexes are good. I don't have any problem supporting everything that's in place. But we're also at a time where we're going to be looking at the realistic parts of where road maintenance is going to be going up. We can look at fuel costs that's going up. These are realistic things that the county are going to have to provide to the people. Education, the parks, I'm all for them. The elderly people use them, the kids use them, but there may have to be a limit on how far we go. $4 million this year, $4 million next year, $4 million the following year. We need to be looking seriously at that. And we're like I said, we're putting the school board and the school budget under the same scrutiny. We're going to have to put everybody under the same scrutiny. And all you got to do is look at the ongoing cost. I'm going to support this because I see things that need this. But I can't tell you I'll support the next one that comes up if it's not more specialized. So that's where I stand on this particular issue.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Parra, please.
For Mr. Hood, if you could. I just, could you elaborate a little bit on the new maintenance and administration office facility and wellness center, and also about the land purchase in the southern part of the county, what you intend to use the land for?
Sure. I'll do the second one first. If we are able to find property in the south end of the county, which we're having a hard time doing, we need a complex down there, an athletic complex in the south end. There's not a complex down there other than where we play at Heritage. We started Heritage 5 or 6 years ago. There were 75 children there, and now there are about 600 playing. And please don't hold me to that number. It's in that area. They play on the same 3 fields. And with the help of the school board and Mr. Fortney, who helped us find 2 smaller fields out in front of that complex, we were able to have some place for the kids to play. We are out of room. There's no place for them to play football. There's no place for them to play soccer. There's nothing down there. That's what we would do, is search for property in that area. In regard to the office complex, the maintenance, we're going to take the old facility, refurbish it, move the administrative offices out next to that complex, attach them to that, take the offices in the Franklin complex and turn them into revenue-producing facilities. Wellness, cycling, crafts programs, mostly in the wellness areas because that's where the revenue is. And I'm trying to increase the revenue in the Franklin facility because we are out of room. And so staying on our property, we're able to do that, and that was how we determined that.
Are you investigating at all, looking at property with the school, since they're looking
Oh,
at
we do that every day.
Are you looking at it on this particular, the property they're trying to get for the schools in the southern?
Yes, to Mr. Fortney's credit, whenever he finds something, he calls me and has been very helpful in helping us find that. And Longview is a perfect location. We would not have found the Longview property without Mr. Fortney in the school system. And they're to be commended for helping us do that, and that's how that happened. I talk to Kevin every couple of weeks about property. When they find something, they've included us in that. Director Sharber has helped us. Becky has always been very helpful in helping us try to find property in those areas. So If they find something, I've basically told them, please include us, so I can bring this back to the county mayor to talk to him about it.
I guess specifically, they're trying to buy property right now from, I guess, Mr. Alexander. Are you looking at trying to get property in part of that?
The superintendent and I have had a conversation about that. That's the best I can tell you at the present time.
Commissioner Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My questions are along the same lines, Mr. Hood. Same question as Commissioner Para on the land purchase. Just to add one more thing, are we talking to cities, Thompson Station, Spring Hill, about donations of land?
Yes, sir.
Any responses?
Yes, sir.
I know why you don't want to go further, that's fine. But remind me, if you would, I think we passed a resolution about 4 years ago, similar to this, and I'm not sure the exact numbers, about $1 million to do the same thing, but we didn't make a purchase. It didn't say Southern, but it said for a passive park somewhere in the rural parts of the county. And it might not have been 4 years ago, it might have been 5, but that money was then spent elsewhere. Since we don't really know where this is, couldn't this be allocated somewhere else? I mean, if we intend to put it in the southern part of the county and another need comes up, can you then spend it wherever you like?
I would only with the committee's approval. I mean,
I don't think we did that last time.
And the county mayor, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I'm not authorized to sign contracts, so I mean, it goes through the county mayor's office. I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. I guess
It did come back, but we never followed through in the resolution to purchase a passive park. We were looking for a
well, I think in that time period, we ended up with 80 acres on the Natchez Trace, which became a passive park, which we didn't have.
That wasn't the money we allocated.
No, sir, it wasn't. It was not.
It was not. So that money went elsewhere is my point. So this money could go elsewhere is what my concern is.
Well, the only way I can respond to that, Commissioner, is, I mean, I'm not authorized just to go out and purchase property, so if it goes somewhere else, I guess I could make sure that, I mean, I always go through the county mayor to do that. I mean, Roger, do you want me to respond to this another way? I mean, I don't know how to tell him other than it always goes through the committee and always back through the county mayor's office. That's all, I mean, I don't know how else to respond to you.
You're talking the 650,000?
Yes.
What you're referring to? Rick, if you if you put a restriction on it, just tell us. I mean, we tried to find this land to go all over the county, and it's getting harder and harder, just as the schools, to find this land. But I mean, if you restrict it to just the southern side, then that's exactly what we will do. That's the intent of this. It's not to take it and shift it someplace else.
Well, I'm just concerned because I think we did that before.
I think the park area did come available out there. That's correct. We couldn't find any. We're still struggling to find land
And
down
we may
there.
still have that problem.
Yeah. We'll bring it back before you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hancock, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Questions for Mr. Hood? Doug?
I need the exercise.
Doug, since this amendment's passed on this facility, these facilities, how many like facilities have we got in the county in the same condition?
The amendment that Commissioner Little brought forward, Franklin High School.
The one that nobody knew anything about until...
Franklin High School is like that, sir. It's exactly the same setup. Yes,
what about Hillsborough?
No, there's no, I'm doing it in regard to where high schools play. Franklin, I know for sure, and I don't know about any of the rest of them that have said anything to me about it. Franklin's exact setup as Page is.
Did this come through you?
Yes, Mr. Little had talked to me about it before, and I had wrote him a letter and told him that the expense of the project, and that if any appropriations are to take it further, he would have to do that, because I mean, I did not have the money at the present time to do it in my budget.
Look, I asked that question, I asked this, do we need additional amendments from those other commissioners that's got like projects in the area of the county? Is that the way we're going to do this now?
Mr. Hancock, I can answer that question.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, please.
Thank you. Mr. Hood, thank you for, I know this is your new exercise program, and if you bring one of these every meeting, maybe we can get an exercise program going here. Thank you for your explanation on the Nolensville part. I had the same questions as Commissioner Barnwell, and I do understand this money will get those fields playable and get the programs able to get started and get them up and going and be able to get those fields usable. Is that what I understood you to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. I can support that at that level. Let me ask you this on the Civitan Park, Brentwood contributing $40,000. How did that come about? Was it an offer from Brentwood, or was it where we approached Brentwood?
No, sir. Brentwood had asked us about fixing that concession stand at Civitan Park, which is a facility that we own.
Right.
The Civitan organization then came forward, I believe, through, at the present time, Mayor Regan with the county mayor's office, and offered to participate in doing that.
I guess my question is, a lot of these other projects are also inside city limits. Do we routinely approach and ask for some contribution, or is that something that that the other cities can look at that and say, hey, maybe there's our citizens of those communities are helping out, maybe this is an opportunity for them to help out on some of these projects?
On some of the big projects, as you all know, we certainly get participation from them, but
Absolutely.
Most of those are in existing facilities that we presently have that we're fixing. If you have one specific, I could...
No, not in specific. I just noticed that the Brentwood was the one that contributed into
They
that
did.
Civitan Park,
Yes, sir.
as opposed to the others that were in that other area.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Green?
Yes, on the, I support this resolution wholly. I just kind of clear things up a little bit on that Nolensville site out there. And it's called Nolensville site, I think only because it's closer to Nolensville than anything else, but it's a few miles south of city limits of Nolensville. But right now they got one soccer field in Nolensville, which was put together on the site that was originally purchased to put a library on years ago. And in the process of getting that field ready, we've had to deal with some strange things out there. And this last weekend, they had to suspend play on that field because the crawdad mounds and because the proximity of that field to the creek. So, and I was really surprised to hear that. But when the rains come, the crawdads get active. But and the Boy Scouts out there have pounded enough sand in those crawdad holes out there, trying to keep it so the kids don't injure their ankles. I fully support this resolution, even with that Nolensville. Nolensville needs, and the county needs, additional soccer fields. Thank you.
Other discussion on 11-07-26. I see none. So 11-07-26 as amended, and the amendment being that we've added the $40,000, 10 for Fairview, 30 for Page. If you're in favor of this resolution as amended, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted, wishes to vote, record the vote. Jeff, please.
21 yes, 1 no.
21 yes and 1 no. Resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. Resolution number 11-07-2, resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Williamson County Sheriff's Office budget by $325, revenues to come from contributions. Commissioner Smith.
Move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Walton. Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you. Budget Committee, Commissioner Little.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
These are funds for the Sheriff's DARE program. Contributions to the program need to be made available for use.
Thank you, sir. Questions of Commissioner Smith on 11-07-2? See none. If you're in favor of 11-07-2, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record a vote, please.
22 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. 11-07-3, a resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Sheriff's Office budget by $25,000. Revenues to come from reserve funds. Commissioner Smith.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Langston, the second. Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you. Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
Like several other departments, the Sheriff's Department has a document processing fee of $2 that goes into a reserve fund to be accumulated for upgrading computer data processing equipment there in the department. This money has accumulated in that fund and needs to be made available for expenditure on some data processing equipment to replace existing outdated equipment.
Thank you, sir. Questions of Commissioner Smith? I see none. 1107-3 is up for your consideration. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please, Jeff.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 11074, a resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Sheriff's Department budget by $49,400.08 revenues to come from state grant funds. Commissioner Smith.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Langston, the second. Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Budget Committee.
3-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
The department applied for a TDOT grant that can be utilized for random checkpoints, saturations, and various enforcement activities of that sort. And this is money from that state grant, which needs to be made available for use.
Thank you, sir. Questions of Commissioner Smith? See none. 11074 for your consideration. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Commissioner Davis. Record the vote, please, Jeff.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 11076, resolution increasing certain line items of the 2007-8 Extended School Program Fund budget for Page Middle School, Oakview, and Longview Elementary School programs by $219,600 using anticipated fees. Commissioner Davis, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Hayes. School Board Report, 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee.
4-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Davis.
This is an extension of the extended school program for 3 schools, an extension at 1, new for 2 schools, we paid for by the users of the program, after school care.
Questions of Commissioner Davis on this resolution? I see none. 11076 is up for your consideration. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 11077, resolution requesting the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners approval of an intent to fund of $28,889,000 for various capital additions and improvements for the Board of Education. Commissioner Davis.
Move for approval.
Second.
Who was the second? Commissioner Walton. The second. School Board Report is 11 yes, 0 no. Education Committee.
4-4, 0 against, as amended.
Okay. Budget Committee.
3-4 against with an amendment.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
I'd like to offer an amendment, please. Oh, you need an explanation first, excuse me. This is for, can I offer my amendment now?
Then you can explain it if you'd like.
I think the explanation is fairly clear. This is for multiple projects for the school system, additions, bleachers, all kinds of things in here. And I defer specific questions to the Director of Schools. I would like to offer an amendment, and that amendment would be to change the bottom line number to $27,364,000.
Is there a second? Commissioner Parrish seconded the amendment, and that is amending the total to $27,364,000. And if you would, that is a proper motion, it is a proper amendment. Commissioner Davis, if you would explain for the rest of the body what you're pulling out of making that amount, amending it down, please, sir.
That reduction comes from three different areas. One area is the removal of the Page and Brentwood High School entrance improvements. That number was $1 million in the original resolution. We did not remove the whole thing. The intent was to keep the security features in and remove the cosmetic improvements to the entrances. So that would now be reduced to $600,000 instead of in lieu of $1 million. We also deleted in its entirety the storage facilities. That's under the next to last whereas at Fairview and Page, and the stadium press boxes on the visitor side of all high schools. If you change those three items, you'll come up with the total on the amendment.
Thank you, sir. Discussion on the amendment. Commissioner Lynch, please.
What I would like to do is add another amendment. Is it now the appropriate time?
We can have up to two, so no reason we can't do it at this point. We'll discuss
My
them.
amendment is to reduce it $700,000 for the design fees for the central office. We don't know how big it's going to be. We don't know what the square foot is going to cost. What we got to do is start lowering the square foot cost of these schools because we're wasting an enormous amount of money. We're just giving $35 a square foot more than we can get them built if they design right. Which this building these elaborate buildings is not going to help quality of education. What we need to do is take some of this money and give the teachers a little bigger raise each year, and that way that's where the help in education is in the teachers and the principal.
Is there a second to Commissioner Lynch's amendment?
Second.
Commissioner Hester, who seconded it? Commissioner Hayes. So that motion, an amendment has been seconded. So let's discuss the amendment. First amendment we're going to discuss is the last one that Commissioner Lynch has made, and that's removing the $700,000 from this resolution for the construction of a new central office. That's the amendment that's on the floor, and we'll properly discuss it. Anybody wanting to discuss? Excuse me? Do the second one first, which is Commissioner Lynch's $700,000 amendment. That's what we're discussing. Any discussion on Commissioner Lynch's amendment? Commissioner Parry, you want to talk on that amendment?
Well, no, I actually wanted to clarify Commissioner Davis on the first one. He had a mistake.
We're on the second amendment. We have to take them in the order, reverse order that they're offered. So let's discuss Commissioner Lynch's amendment. Commissioner Hayes, would you like to discuss that amendment?
Yes, please. I, too, concur that at this time, certainly, I don't think we need to invest $700,000 for the due diligence for a central office. With our needs that we have now, with our schools needing to be built all around the county, particularly in the southern county, I can't see that a new office for our staff would help education at all. So I concur in removal of this $700,000 at this economic time particularly.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Just a point of clarification to Commissioner Lynch. Your comment was we don't know how big it's going to be or what it's, and what we're doing is removing design costs. So essentially what you're saying is we're not going to build a central office is your aim with this amendment.
That's correct. If we don't approve this amendment, what we're doing them is giving them a blank check, and I don't believe we need to do the taxpayers that way. But we're still appropriating $26,654,000, which I'm like Ms. Hayes, that's enough at this time, something we really need.
Follow-up, Commissioner Smith?
That's all.
Commissioner Mills, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I thought we said that central office needed to move from where they were and that they needed more space. So if they don't have any money, for a design fee, what are they going to do? I'd like to hear Dr. Sharber talk about her space up there and why they need it before we just pull it out like this.
Commissioner, excuse me, Dr. Sharber, please.
And I may need to get Mr. Fortney up here to do some explicit explanations, but we did present to, I know with the Budget Committee, I think the Education Committee as well, information about the study we had done on the current central office, the number of people we currently have, tried to project way out into the future, the amount of space we would need in the future, looking at square footages per person that's in the central office and needs, as you're well aware, I'm sure, in this building, which has been a fabulous office building, there are limits on the way you use the spaces because, for instance, poles that you can't move, offices that are really too big but too small to put dividers in, although we have actually done quite a bit of that in our space, and I know the county has as well. We were very fortunate as a school system central office to be offered the opportunity to be in this building. I tried to do a little research on central offices in Williamson County for the Williamson County School District and determined that we've had a central office in the courthouse at some point. Then we got to move to what was left of the burned out Franklin High School next to the Optimist Gym, where the first time I visited that in the 80s, they had buckets catching the water through the roof. So we were extremely pleased to be able to get to move to this building. But we moved to this building in 1988, almost 20 years ago now, and with the county offices, and several of us continue to have to just find other places to be because it's gotten to be a building that's not easily shared by the school district and the county offices, just because the whole county has grown and all the services needed by the people here have grown. All we're asking to do, I mean, we can stay in this building if y'all want to do something for the county offices somewhere else. I don't think that's appropriate because this is really the county administrative office building. We have researched renting space, and if any of you have researched renting space anywhere in most of Williamson County, anywhere that would be logical for a central office, we could actually pay for a new building in about 5 years for what we would spend on leasing space for the central office. So we really have looked into this thoroughly, and it seems like to me, for the benefit of the taxpayers, we either need to move somewhere where we can build a space or just stay here and find other ways. Maybe we can home office a bunch of our people. Certainly organizations are doing that now. Maybe we can just rent, or y'all can leave us with a conference room where we can meet occasionally. But, you know, we can't, both the county and the school system continue to grow and stay in this building together. We're out of room, and the county's running out of room. So that's where we are. But we did, in this packet that's in front of you, there is information about how we went about determining how many square feet we would need. That's how we went about getting the cost of the design, was by the square footage that we would need way out into the future. So we didn't just pick a number out of the air. We've done a lot of work and a lot of research on this idea.
Follow-up, Commissioner Mills?
I'd just like to ask, what is the smallest amount, or total amount that you would, if you didn't get this $700,000, what could you live with? Mr. Chairman, would you let Mr. Fortner?
Kevin, the question is if the $700,000 wasn't approved, what is the smallest amount you could live with?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for you just getting some information this evening, but this is the study that we did on the existing space that we have, and it identifies each and every employee and how we are distributed throughout the building here at central office and within the county building. As Dr. Sharber said, it has been a great building. I personally enjoy it here. The space has been really beneficial to us until here the last couple of years, and we were starting to get stacked on top of each other and so forth. But to answer your question, I'd like you to go over to the last page of the legal sheets that I provided, which is on this document. It's a spreadsheet that I gave you, or that Diane set before you before this evening's meeting. We are estimating that based on current space that we occupy within this building, which is about 26,000 square feet, that exact number that we're occupying is right at 26,000 square feet. And we are housing in the office at any given time between 87 and 119 people. And these are individuals that are, most are officed here full-time. We have some that maintain a small office or a cubicle here, and then they move out to other areas throughout the day, but their work areas are within the central office. We've looked at placing people within the various schools. However, our schools are all trying to divvy up space and utilize their space for education and academic purposes. So taking that into consideration, the space that we now occupy and what we feel growth would be over the next 10 to 15 years, we anticipate that there would be a need for up to about 180 people with a total square footage of 48,897 square feet. And and these are just very rough numbers that are on that last page, figuring an estimated square footage cost of $140 a square foot, that 48,000 construction cost that does not include land would be about $6,845,000. The design actually would be about $410,734. Now that would be just to design the building, the architectural fee based on a 6% fee, which is about standard in in Williamson County. We added additional funds for surveys, geotechnical, appraisals, flood studies, environmental services, which brought it to a total of $630,000, $630,734. We're looking at, if it happens to be in the city of Franklin, and we're not interested in these fees below that line right now, but tap fees, insurance bonds, and contingencies and so forth, that building we would estimate somewhere in the range of $8.8 million. With a contingency in there for unforeseen conditions, which we would hope there would be none. Once it's designed, we want to keep exactly what we design and not go, increasing space or changing arrangements and so forth. And we would definitely bring a final design to this commission, along with our school board first, of course. So your question of what do we need right this moment, the actual design fees would be $410,000. We would need our survey, geotechnical appraisals, flood studies, and environmental if we're looking at other lands. So that would bring it $630,734. Your $700,000 that you're looking at that we submitted was rounding the numbers to where before I had some more definitive numbers available to me. From that stage, we would, before we come up with a final design, of course, it would have to go to our board, and then from our board, it would have to come to the county commission. Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Mills?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Commissioner Hayes, please follow up.
Kevin, that amounts to the cost of a new school.
Well, the new schools are higher, substantially higher.
Somewhat higher.
If you look at the cost of construction now, and I'm not saying that it's going to be $140 a square foot, I can tell you that based on my experience of construction in the Williamson County area of office buildings, that we feel as though that we're comparable to not Class A office space or anything, but for government purposes, to operate a school district out of, I'm estimating $140. I'm not asking that be the amount that's being spent right now. That is just an estimate that I put together based on the trends that I'm seeing in construction. We are seeing construction of schools, of course, go anywhere from the raw construction costs, excluding land, furniture, fixtures. We're seeing those costs anywhere from, $120 up to $140 a square foot. There's another graph or spreadsheet in front of you that when we get into the schools, we'll look at that. But I share in your concerns. The cost of the buildings are expensive.
Have we looked at how we might better utilize space upstairs that you have? I know there's a lot of renovation going on here in the complex, and many offices have found additional space with some rearranging and redesigning. That being said, we also are looking at remodeling the courthouse. We don't know what, if any, offices from here might be relocating down there, which perhaps would free up some time here. I think the timing is rather sensitive here.
Okay.
Have we checked everything to know what we will need and what we will have when all that is complete? If we did a renovation look at how we might better utilize your space.
We continually look as each year when we evaluate our personnel situation and where we're going to, our growth and our budgets and so forth on how we're going to house the employees at central office. As Dr. Sharber said, we can surely look at, officing at homes. Some people may be able to do that with the technology that we have available today. To be more specific to your question, we have just recently, for example, when we brought on more positions that were in our budget this year for central office, they had to have a place. So what we did is we made a major move upstairs as far as our existing personnel. We've doubled up and tripled up people in offices. We have utilized any open spaces that we can with cubicle-type furniture. I have two of my people, or our people that work in facilities, that's actually in the vault and in the records room, and they're doing fine. It's a very small space, but we were able to arrange with, instead of using regular type office furniture, we've gone to some modular furniture as the county government has. But right now we're on top of each other, and without major moving out and moving walls down, we have no place to go. Our technology area down on this floor, which is down the hall, we are beyond capacity right now. So we've looked at CPS building for a leasehold. We've looked at the boot factory across the highway from it, and we've looked at all of those angles as far as what would be the most economical. I'm sure there can be more studies done if there's other county government office buildings available that we'd be more than happy to look at, I'm sure.
Commissioner Williams?
This may sound simplistic, but we own this building. And if there is a true need to expand central headquarters, in which I publicly said I have a public concern about the head growing faster than the tail anyway. But with that being said, and we own this building, why isn't it feasible to add to this building?
That could be a solution, but I would have to defer that to the mayor.
So then if that study was looked at, and then determined what it would cost to expand on this building to house the central office, and you came back to the commission for that, then that would be the figure that I would be interested in looking at. If there was going to be a figure to say, okay, we own this building, we can expand it for X number of dollars, that's a figure that I would be interested in looking at, as opposed to just, and this is not fair to you, Mr. Fortney, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But that's a figure that I'd be looking at, because this is all anticipation that we're going to find a piece of property somewhere and where you're going to build it.
Right. If I can add to that, one of the things as far as property, the school district does own one piece of property over off South Berry's Chapel Road and Ridgecrest, commonly known as a Berry property. It's about 45 acres. The board several years ago, about 8 years, purchased that property. That property would be difficult at best to construct a school, just because of the elevation changes, the number of ponds on the project, on the site, the number of the stream that runs through the middle of it, and so forth. It would also take some roads to be built to it, from Hillsborough Road extending Fieldstone Parkway, and also coming off of Berry's Chapel to get into the basically the north side of the property. We proposed that to the Budget and Education Committees, or explained that to them, and there was a little bit of discussion there. As far as what can be done with this property, I think it would be based on the floor area ratios and the amount of space that we would have available.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Has there ever been any thought process of going into seeing about expanding this building that we already own?
I have not pursued that. I've had a conversation in passing with Mayor Anderson at one point, and he had asked if we had looked into additional space, and I said our board and our office is looking into that, and he says that's good because he's looking at space also.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Mr. Fort, just a question, clarification. Maybe I didn't hear what I think I heard you say. Did you say that property is not fit for building a school?
In my opinion, it's not.
And we bought it for the purpose of building a school?
It was purchased for a specific concept of like a charter, a magnet type school, or an arts type school. There's so much change in elevation across that property. I would surmise, without having the document in front of me, that there is some 40 foot of elevation change. It's got a major unnamed tributary running right through the middle of it. If we could use any of it, it would be the property of that section of the 45 acres. It would be the 15 or 20 acres that is directly to the west of the major creek that runs north and south. There's also a couple ponds on the property, but the biggest thing is the elevation changes, the soil conditions. I haven't been able to locate a soil study, so that's where we are right now.
What did the school board pay for that property?
I believe, I'd have to verify it, but I believe it was like $1.8 million.
Thank you. Commissioner Lynch?
My theory is they don't need all the people they're hiring in the system. For instance, the 2006 and 07 budget, they had 16 professional people in there. They hired over and above the 20-to-1 ratio. This past year, there's 53 money in there for 53 professional people over and higher the ratio. As far as these other schools, Longview is supposed to hold the same as Chapman Retief. In addition to that, they added 10 special ed classrooms and 1,000 feet for the library. They still had 25,000 square foot. Do y'all realize how big 25,000 square foot is? That'll hold a hell of a lot of people. I don't mean no disrespect, but they are hiring coordinators and consultants and people, and not hiring people to go in the classroom to teach a kid. Every time you hire a coordinator, you've got to have an office for that person. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To piggyback off of Commissioner Lynch's, if I'm reading this right, and we just got this and it's kind of hard to get through, currently we have about 23,632 square feet, and we're proposing 48,000, which is more than double for the central office. I'm on page 505 of your document you just handed us. So almost 49,000 square feet. So we're proposing to double the square footage.
That's correct. That's to bring technology, everybody over. Our initial study was, if you recall, Commissioner Ford, was done on the Battleground Academy property.
Right.
And we had about a 35,000 square foot building, plus we had Cloverdale Hall and, the old gymnasium, library building, and so forth.
And I think I heard you say that right now there's somewhere between 80-something and 110 or so people that have offices or are based out of this, but this is to get up to 180 people. So is that 180 versus the 80-something? Is that...
No, sir, that's not the intent of it. I think the intent is to explain to you that we will be having, within central office, we've got a number of people that report here and then go to other areas throughout the district, okay? And those areas, I was asked to look at it with a growth period of up to about 15 years. So if you look at our growth of what it's been over the years, the central office staff is not going to grow like this on a curve. It's going to be gradual. I mean, our student growth has been very drastic, but our central office, we don't need another person for every 10 kids. I mean, that's not what we're saying. I understand your point. I understand your point, But what I'm saying, a lot of that is cubicle space. I'm giving you numbers to what we would expect maybe in the next 15 years within a building. And having ample space to put additional personnel, some storage, not all. One of our commissioners asked me to please look into buildings with storage someplace else that is a lot more economical storage, and we are surely doing that. We're gonna cut storage down to a minimum.
Is that included, but the storage is in the 49,000 or so that you're proposing?
What storage we would need on site is, yes. And I don't imagine that this is very preliminary, as I said. It was a study that was done based on, without, having an architect on staff. It's information based on our current staff, what we occupy right now, and what we could foresee over the next 15 years.
You're also going to ask us for 44 classrooms. Is there the opportunity, in this resolution, there's 44 additional classrooms on here also. Is there the opportunity to move some of these people out closer to the schools from the people that they work with so they can be closer to the children, closer to the education, and reduce some of this central office feeling?
I'm sure we could do that if that's what they desire, but they're still going to need a place to operate out of once...
I guess I'm asking, could they operate out of the schools? If they're traveling in a certain area and working with a certain area, could they be housed out of that school and make more economical use of the space and not have to go and double the size of a central office?
If we had space within our buildings to do that.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Okay. And also I noticed on here in the parking area, if I'm reading this right, I see 322 parking spaces, and 150 of them are MCHS. I guess that's middle college, high school?
That's,
Can you explain that to me?
Well, that was off my first spreadsheet on it. The parking should be, that middle college, high school should be removed from that. The visitor parking is there, and then that should be just staff parking. In other words, MCHS parking, I was using that as a line item for our staff parking. Typo on my part. I apologize for that.
So you don't need 322?
Well, I think that we should plan for 322 spaces, most definitely. Anytime that if we're going to be, like in this parking lot, if we have major issues as far as, or board meetings and functions going on for training of staff and so forth that can't be done at schools or it needs to be in a central location, there could be up to anywhere from, with the general public attending board meetings, with the staff involved and with the central office involved on a school day, that there's a professional development day, there could be any number of people here. And I would say it would be prudent to have about 300 parking spaces.
For 180, a building that's...
Doesn't mean it has to be all built at all at one time.
For a building that is scheduled to house 180 people, you want 322 parking spaces?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay, thank you.
Question on
Farrell,
your...
please.
Oh, sorry about that. Just a question on your sheet here. Each of these square footages that you have down for the offices, I mean, that, since you later in the document add in room for circulation, walls, everything, that's the actual square footage that you anticipate for each office. So 200 square feet, 300 square feet, so on and so forth.
That's the actual square foot. That was the first run at numbers, and that's, some of them look them out at office space, some of them cubicle space, some of them sharing a group of cubicles, and it can be configured any which way.
Okay.
This is one that we're just coming to you today and asking for initial design menu.
Okay.
And then we have the professionals to really take a look at it.
Right, right. I understand. Just in general, looking at just the number of square feet, I mean, I'm an engineer, work for a major corporation. I have maybe a 7x8 cubicle. I maybe got 50-some square feet, maybe 60. I mean, everybody here has at least double that, and some triple, quadruple. I just think the size of these offices, and I see it does, a lot of them didn't change from what they have now, but I think it's just very large compared to what typical people in industry
Be glad to revisit that.
would get. Thank you.
Commissioner Langston, please.
Yes, I'd like to ask, Mr. Chairman, if I could, at our Education Committee meeting, it was my understanding, and this was questioned pretty thoroughly, in regard to site, and it was my understanding there was a portion of that land that could adequately and properly be used for this. Are we still looking and considering that? Because part of my vote was that really, if we're going to appropriate $700,000, we need to have a site.
Let me clarify my response earlier about the site from the chairman when I made my statements. I believe I stated, or what I meant to state, is that that site is not suitable for a school building because of the size of a school that it would have to be. For an office building, it is suitable. We would not be able to use that entire site for a school building to accommodate, athletic fields, the school itself. There is one other issue that may come up, is that the zoning of the property may be such that it could not be changed from suburban residential to commercial use. So that could preclude us from using that property. So, the board has been advised of this, our school board, and there's even a possibility that that parcel could be sold and not used by the school district at all.
Mr. Chairman, this is more of a statement. I guess if given a choice, I know the choices I want to make, and that is if I have a choice in regard to building buildings for the use of children, our students, I want to do that. But I think we also do have a consideration that we have to have adequate space. And I guess the thing that concerns me tonight is that we're discussing a need, whether or not we need this. And I'm put in a position, has a study been done, how much more longer can the school system continue in this building? How much longer can the election commission stay in this building? How are we going to utilize this space? And if it is a situation that we have to move someone out, when are we going to know that? And that's what I think the commission has a responsibility of looking at and trying to get answers for that. I mean, we have so much space in this building, and we can talk about moving office space around and doing this and doing that. We might be able to do it. But we've got to house people. And if we're not housing them adequately right now, then we've got to have some answers. Who's going to be moved out? How much of this space can be used? And if it can be added on to, or do we need to add parking here? I think those are some very general questions that we need to have answered.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walton, please.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to comment that Commissioner Langston brought up the Barry's Chapel property. And I have checked on the zoning. It is suburban estate. It is in the middle of a residential area, so therefore I could not support putting any type of commercial structure there. It was stated at the Budget Committee that you could build it to fit in with the surrounding structure, and I have no doubt that could be done. That would just cost that much more, and also it wouldn't address the traffic that would be put through the residential neighborhood. So in my opinion, I couldn't support it with that property. However, I do support eliminating the $700,000 out of this.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Langston and Commissioner Walton made my point.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
Call for the question.
Question been called for. All those in favor of call the question say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The question has been approved. We're voting on the amendment to reduce Resolution 11077 by $700,000 design fees. That's the question. It's been discussed for quite some time that we'll be voting on. This is the second amendment that's been made to this primary motion. So if you're in favor of 11077, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. This is reducing from this resolution $700,000 design fees for the central office. The second amendment. Everybody voted, wish to vote, record a vote, please.
13 yes, 9 no.
13 yes, 9 no, so the $700 is removed, so we're $700,000 is removed, so we'll go back down to the first amendment, and that amendment was made by Commissioner Davis to amend out the amounts down to $27,364,000. Commissioner Parr, discussion on Commissioner Davis's amendment.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. On the page in Brentwood High Schools, it was removing $600,000 to reduce it down to $400,000. I believe he said reducing the $1 million to $600,000. It was removing $600,000 because it was stated that the security improvements would be about $200,000 per school. So that's why we left $400,000 there. It's actually removing $600,000, and that makes the total come out correct.
Okay.
And I do support the amendment. I think these are items that are not necessary at this time, and there's a lot of other items that are much more important. I mean, for $1.5 million, we're building over 8 classrooms at some of these schools. Those things are a lot more important than these items. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bain, please.
Yes, I may have gotten confused on what we just deleted. Is that not part of that 27 million?
That's the 700,000.
It's a different line item.
Yes. The 700,000, when we vote on this as amended to 27 million, the 27,364 will be reduced by the 700,000 if this passes. So
Okay, I'm back. I'm back. All right.
So if 27,364 minus 700,000 would make that 26,667,000. That's where we are right now, Commissioner Bain, if this passes. Is that correct, Commissioner Davis? You've got the calculator.
26664.
Right, 26664. Okay. Let's see, Commissioner Jones, please.
Yes, I've asked that we all consider the press boxes for the visitor side. I think a lot of us think that this is just for visiting teams coming in. If you've been to any of our local games, you have both teams, coaches in one press box, you have timekeepers, you have announcers, you have radio crews from both teams trying to find space. You have kids on top of buildings filming. And now with our TV production crews that are here and doing such an excellent job, there's hardly any space for them to do anything. Now, we had a meeting with all the athletic directors about a week or two ago, and this was one of the top priorities of the athletic directors for this needed space. And I just think it's a concern for safety. This isn't just providing something for the visitors and their coaches. This is space that we need. And I really, I think that's what the amendment said specifically. If we leave it back up to the school board, I hope we don't get into specifics if we do pass this amendment. Appreciate your thoughts on this.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell Little, please.
I'd like to offer an amendment to stipulate that the entire middle school construction cost in the third whereas not to exceed $24 million.
That's appropriate amendment. That's the second amendment that's offered. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bain makes a second, so Commissioner Russell Little's second amendment on this resolution is to stipulate that the entire middle school construction costs in the third whereas will not exceed $24 million. Any discussion on that amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I was in on the previous amendment. I got a quick question on this one too. Are we saying that we're changing the amount down here that we're going to put out at this point, or are we just saying we're going to put out 11 million at this point and they'll come back for the rest, but we're saying it's not to exceed 24 million?
That's correct.
Okay.
Other discussion on Commissioner Little's amendment to amend it to whereas the middle school construction will not exceed 24 million. Any discussion on that amendment? That amendment, Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I just have a question for clarification's sake.
Yes, sir.
Is that, would that amendment effectively make this resolution to be 24 million?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner Little.
what we're doing here, we're not changing the amount that's in this resolution. The only thing we're doing is we're capping the total cost of that middle school. We have an $11 million request for that, which said was approximately half, and to keep the Budget Committee's thinking was to keep the cost of this from running out and coming back and needing a lot more money. We were going to cap those costs at $24 million. So, but we're not changing the substance of this resolution into the amount of money. The only thing we're doing, we're just capping the cost of that middle school.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams, just a clarification, they were asking for partial funding, and the Budget Committee wanted to define how big it would be, and that's what Commissioner Little's amendment does. Any other discussion on Commissioner Little's amendment? It's loaded on the machine to stipulate that the middle school...
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Commissioner Cooks, sorry, excuse me.
I want a clarification as to whether the cost of the land was included in that $24 million.
Commissioner Little?
I don't know.
I think that amount was based on information that we presented to the Budget Committee, which did include a number that has the cost of the land that we already secured. However, the reality is we don't know what that land will cost us. We know how much you gave us, but since we are having to condemn that land in order to have a piece of land, we don't know if we already have enough money for the land. So it's hard to say, and we didn't know, in the Budget Committee, we didn't have that discussion. So I don't know if you intended to include the cost of the land because you had already allocated that money in a previous bond. So it's, I don't know what you intended to do. The number we gave you, which was 23 million something, did include the cost of the land as we knew it at that time, but that still may not be enough. So if this includes the cost of the land, we may or may not have enough funds.
So our intent was for that to include the cost of the land, so thank you.
Okay. So to answer your question, Commissioner Cook, based on Commissioner Little's response, it's his intent of this motion that include the price of the land. Okay, anybody else wanting to discuss the amendment not to exceed 24 million? Okay, I see none. If this is loaded on the machine, so the second amendment on this resolution, 11077, if you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record a vote, please.
21 yes, 1 no.
21 yes and 1 no. The limit to 24 million passes, so we're back to the first amendment on the resolution, and that amendment is to reduce the three items that Commissioner Davis has indicated, which will reduce the amount, Commissioner Davis.
Your total was $26,664,000.
$26,664,000. And if you would, Linda, could you load that on the machine? Because that's what we're actually voting on if this passes. $26,664,000 for Resolution 110707 is the second amendment. Okay, 26,664,000. Any other discussion on this amendment? Commissioner Ford?
I'd like for Mr. Fortney to tell us about what they had planned for the entrance improvements at Page and Brentwood High that were taken out.
It's an appropriate request.
Don't have the details to give you because it's not designed. However, the intent was to, at Page High School, for example, the main entrance of the building is recessed far away from any unloading zone, anything of that nature. To incorporate a secure entrance, I mean, we can secure the entrances, but the ideal situation would be to somehow move part of that front area closer to the end of the front of the building to identify the entrance. There's just not a very easy way to identify the entrance to that building. Same issue that the board has concern with at Brentwood High School. So it was an architectural issue, more of being able to identify, exactly where the front offices were. It could be done by either a canopy type structure outside of it enclosed with storefront to reconfigure the attendance office and the main front office as they come in the doors. But right now, you go in the front doors, you go in right into the corridor area. Anybody can get through there and then make a left and another left to get into the office. Brentwood High School is very similar in the fact that when you go in the front doors, there is a lobby area that one has to pass through, has access to cafeteria, corridors, and so forth before you get into a front office. So the plan was to try to bring a lot of that forward, and even if it meant moving the actual front doors further out to the front, to be able to put personnel there to monitor those doors and keep them in there. So what we're going to try to do now with the funding or the direction it's going, if we don't have those funds, then we will take other steps to secure those doors through video security cameras, specifically at those doors, electronic locks, and also card access to be able to restrict entry to those that need to be there.
Mr. Fortney, if under the current proposal taking these out and under your revised plan, how will parents who may need to get in, how will they be able to gain access into the school?
They will have to hit a bell or a buzzer, okay, and wait for somebody to identify them through either a monitor and then buzz them in, or release the door and have them come in that way, and then rely on them to walk into the front office. We're going to try to reroute it by doing some modifications at Page, possibly through the security dollars, but we're going to be limited on what we can do.
So the $1 million you had here was more than just an aesthetic improvement.
It's a combination of aesthetics and moving some office space to make it more secure and adding security to it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an amendment that we fund the entire $1 million rather than the $400,000.
Second.
It's a proper amendment. Back to the second amendment.
We're going to get to the first one eventually.
We're back to the second amendment, and that amendment is to add back, and as a matter of fact, approve the entire $1 million for the Page and Brentwood High School security and entrance improvement.
Yeah, it goes back to
the thing, the amendment's on the floor reduces that, so your motion is to put it back. So let's see, discussion on that amendment. Commissioner Barnwell?
Point of order, can we add something back to something that hasn't been taken away yet?
It would technically be an amendment to the amendment, reducing the reduction by the 600,000.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, my intent, he's taking, whatever the dollar amount that he's taking out, I'm reducing that by 600,000 is what I'm essentially doing.
We hear you. That's the motion.
Putting it back in.
Commissioner Williams?
Mr. Chairman, and maybe for a point of order, as I understand it, we as sitting as a county commission can't identify specific items from the education standpoint. I mean, we can just lop off money, but we can't identify specific items that we're targeting.
Mr. Williams, as I understand, and legal counsel can address it, but is this an intent to fund? We can. We can determine what we're willing to fund. We can't line item their budget but this is a request. Council, would you like to address that, please?
I think that's a correct statement, as an intent to fund. When the actual funding comes up, you will be bonding or appropriating a total amount of money.
Okay, so when it comes through on the budget, I mean, we can take dollar figures, but we can tell them how to spend that money.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Basically, what we're saying is if we take this out, it's not our intent to fund it. That's the bottom line. Okay, any other discussion? The amendment on the floor is to add back $600,000 to the Page and Brentwood High School security entrance and basically restoring the entire $11 million. So, any discussion on that amendment? Commissioner Para?
Leaving the $400,000 secures the building. We need to secure the building. We don't need to spend $600,000 to make it look better. We need to identify it and we need to put up a sign. The $400,000 is the number given by the school board to secure the buildings. That's what we need to do. The rest of the money, we can buy at $600,000. You could buy 4 more classrooms. 4 more classrooms are a lot more important than making the building more architecturally pretty.
Thank you, sir. So let's vote on the amendment to restore the entire $1 million. If you're in favor of that amendment, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Has everybody voted that wishes to vote? Record the vote, please.
11 yes.
11
no.
yes, 11 no. So the motion to add it back is defeated. We're back to the first amendment. And let me recap where we are. If the chair is clear, we're looking at Resolution 110707, and here are the 4 items that this amendment takes out. It reduces the total amount to $26,664,000, and we're removing, if this passes, the $700,000 for the central office, which is already removed. We're proposing to reduce the $1 million for Page and Brentwood High School security and entrance improvements to $400,000. We're taking out $600,000. We have removed the storage facilities at the 2 schools in the amount of $225,000. And this proposed amendment deletes the stadium press boxes on the visitor side for $700,000 for a total amendment of this intent to fund to be $26,664,000. That's your motion, Commissioner Davis. Okay, discussion, Commissioner Bain, please.
Yes. Mr. Fortner, will the 400 provide the security that you've talked about on one of the other amendments?
The 400,000.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tommy Little.
2 things. One, what was the budget committee's? I know that they had an amendment for the $24 million. What was their stance on the bond issue? Did they fund the full amount, or did they concur with the Education Committee's cuts?
The Budget Committee voted 2-2, so the motion failed in the budget.
Other discussion on the motion?
That was one.
No, it said 3-1 then. It says 3-1. It says 3-1 on here. It was 2-2 on the next one.
The entire resolution passed 3-1. The vote 2-2 was on the Education Committee's amendment.
Thank you, sir.
In other words, the Budget Committee did not approve the amendment, the Education Committee's commitment.
Voted 2-2. It was not approved. The amendment was not approved. We voted 3-1 for the entire funding, the entire amount.
Okay, any other discussion on this amendment? $26,664,000. Commissioner Chalfant, please. You've not discussed it.
Call the question.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this question's been called. $26,664,000. Press your yes button if you're in favor, your no button if you're against it. If you don't want to vote, punch your yellow button. Oops. Record a vote, please.
19 yes, 3 no.
This amendment is adopted, 19 yes, 3 no, so we're back to Resolution 110707 as amended. Any discussion? If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted that wishes to vote. Commissioner Walton is out. Record the vote, please.
19 yes, 2 no.
19 yes, 2 no. Resolution 110707 is adopted as amended, 19-2. I'm going to declare a 10-minute recess. We'll call the meeting back into session. Get back to business. Commissioner Walton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After much thought, I'd like to open up. I voted on the prevailing side on Resolution 11-7-26, and I'd like to move that we open that back up. The reason being, on the $40,000 we had...
Excuse me just a minute. Your motion is to reconsider?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly made to reconsider Resolution 11-07-26. That's the resolution of intent to fund the purchase of property and certain improvements and renovations for various community parks and recreation facilities. Commissioner Walton.
Yes, sir. I want to do that. The problem I have, I think it's a fine thing, but I think it needs to go through the committee system, and for that reason, I'd like to reconsider that.
Okay, that's a proper motion, proper second to reconsider 11-07-26, and the procedure that we'll follow is as this resolution was amended. The motion by Commissioner Walton is to reconsider the motion 11-07-26. If this passes, then I'll entertain his motion to reconsider whatever amendment that he wishes to reconsider. So your vote on this first motion is that we reconsider Resolution 11-07-26. Had a second. Commissioner Bain made a second. Any discussion? Okay, 11-07-26. Motion to reconsider. Press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record a vote, please, Jeff.
14 yes, 8 no.
Okay, the motion to reconsider has been adopted. So at this point in time then, I'll go back to Commissioner Walton for your motion, please, sir.
If council can guide me, do we need to now reconsider the amendment?
Correct.
Okay, and what I would like to do, I don't know if it's proper, maybe defer that to the committees.
Council.
But the motion would be to reconsider the amendment first. If that passed, then you could do whatever you wanted with it, either defeat it or defer it.
All right, then my motion would be to reconsider the $40,000.
Motion is duly made and seconded by Commissioner Walton, second by Commissioner Williams, to reconsider the amendment adding the $40,000 amount to this resolution. Commissioner Lynch, please.
We knew this should go through the committees, but it was a whole lot easier to do it tonight when we was appropriating all that money than it would have been to wait till January. And if you want to reconsider, that's all right, but this is bad business when something passes, when we come along and reconsider every one of them we want to.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Williams?
I understand what Commissioner Lynch said. I think the danger we run into is when at the last minute, we operate on committees anyway. At the last minute, anybody can come in here on a resolution and ask to make an amendment right at the last minute, and that's what's happened in this situation. Realistically, in looking at this amendment should have gone into that education amendment if you wanted to add in instead of the parks amendment. It's the way I look at it. So I'm not saying the $40,000 is not needed. I'd like to see it go through the committee. But if the $40,000 should be paid, it shouldn't be paid out of our money, the government's money, the county's money. It should be come from the school's money because that's the property it's going to improve. So I will support the resolution or the amendment to the resolution.
From the chair, could I ask the mayor, would you come to the mic, please? Mayor, what difficulty does it create if this is not approved tonight versus being approved in January?
That
$40,000?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Does this stop, if this is not approved tonight, and it's deferred, that's my question, if this were to be deferred, not approved tonight, does that complicate the processing of this through your office?
the $40,000 amendment, as I understand it, was not, until I got here tonight, I did not know about the $40,000 amended to the resolution. I can't answer you as far as how we would fund it. I would think, though, if you all leave it this way, I would talk to David, but more than likely, we would not put $40,000 on a bond. But the two projects that you all are talking about, they're not something that I would consider for putting on a bond as part of it. But up until this evening, I guess to answer your question, I was hearing the discussion earlier, it wouldn't stop us, but we are planning to go to market with the school issues and some of these parks issues, be right after the first of the year. You've got a resolution a little bit later to bridge us over, but we will go sometime in the early part of 2008, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tommy Little, please.
Yes, one of the reasons why we put it under Parks was that this field at Page was constructed by Parks and Recreation. It is used by the school. It is used as practice for some other teams that are not school. It is not just a school field, and it was totally constructed by Parks. When it was constructed, we met with the architects when we saw the plans, and we said that the dugouts were in the wrong place, and we asked that they be moved. The architect told us that he'd built hundreds of fields, that's where they belong. And we have tried to get Parks and Rec to move them. I had talked with Doug and got these plans, and then I talked with Clyde, and he suggested that we bring it up tonight. And we did, mainly because if we do it in January, we don't have time to get them finished for this year's season, which is one of the goals. That we did it the way we did was trying to get it in time to where they were able to have it to play with this spring. So that's two of the reasons why I did it the way we did.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jones, please.
Yes, I was asked at the break if any other people use our fields other than Parks and Rec, other than high school. And it is used by other entities other than the high school. And the lights were put up by Parks and Rec. So it is shared, and there's people on it this fall all the time that are practicing travel clubs and Parks and Rec. And it had been talked and discussed with Doug Hood as early as a month ago. I talked with Doug about the fence and the concern I had with the fences. I would like for you to support or deny this motion to reconsider.
Sir, Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask Commissioner Walton if he wants to take it back through the committee system. What committee is it going to, Education or Parks and Rec?
Yes. All of the above, and that pretty well sums it up. I'm not debating who needs to pay for it or whether it's needed. I just think it needs to go through the committee system.
Mr. Smith, as chairman, it's my responsibility to refer it to committee, so if it comes back, I would refer it to Parks and Rec, schools, and budget. Through our side, and if it goes on the school board side, we don't have anything to do with it. It'll come through our three committees if it goes back.
Thank you, sir.
Number 3, Commissioner Hancock, please.
Question.
Second. Question been called for. All in favor, call the question. Say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Question's been called, so we're voting on reconsider. We're reconsidering the $40,000 amendment. So if you're in favor of reconsidering that, press your yes button. If you don't want to reconsider it, press your no button. Everybody wishes to vote to reconsider. 11 yes.
11 yes, 11 no.
11 no, so the motion to reconsider fails. So we now have the main motion on the floor. The reconsideration of 40,000, we are reconsidering, so we are now back to 110726 as amended, which adds $40,000 to the total. Any discussion? $110726. Ready? Commissioner Smith, please. Well, let's see. Commissioner Williams, I'm sorry.
One question I wanted to ask, even though these parks were built way back when by Parks and Recs, who maintains these fields today?
It's a combination of both.
You mean a combination of both?
Rogers?
Mr. Williams, over the last several years, the schools in the county, through Parks and Recreation, try to work hand in hand on many projects. And in my opinion, that's what we should do for liability issues. If you go back, and I forgot the date, somebody here that could remember maybe 10 or 12, 14 years ago when we did a countywide referendum, and one of the things that we wanted to emphasize back in those times was that Parks and Rec needed to be an integral part of our county. Since that time, the schools, as the discussion tonight, most of the county commissioners always felt like the dollars for bricks and mortar and for education, for the curriculum side, was totally a responsibility of the schools. As time has progressed, more and more emphasis has gone, not to say that they don't do some of the maintenance issues, but as you all know here, we're self-funded in our county from a liability standpoint, and having good fields, safe fields, and Kevin does an outstanding job with his men and his people. Many of the schools, though, that we have, from Fairview to College Grove, Bethesda to Brentwood, the counties do work all over these school fields. So there's no clear-cut distinction, and I wouldn't want to stand here and try to say that the best avenue is the schools do theirs and the counties do that. That's not the cooperation we need. How you all fund this is your business. But I do truly believe our Parks and Rec is second to none as the maintenance and the school side of theirs. But they don't have the staff nor they have the equipment to go out there and do the things that we need to do. Tonight somebody asked a question about Brentwood when they contributed $40,000. I believe it was 40, wasn't it? You know, they stepped up to the plate, Brentwood did. They're able to step up, and we appreciate that very, very much. There's also another issue. They've given us a piece of equipment, and we fixed it, and we do everything we possibly can to keep the tax rates down and work with the cities when we can work with them, and the schools and all the other departments we have here. So there are many, many examples all over this county.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, let me ask you this one question.
Okay.
This was approved earlier on. Which budget, in your opinion, and you work with this all the time, in which budget, in your opinion, should this $40,000 come from?
Well, you know, you're putting me on a situation I didn't even know anything about tonight. If I had my ruthers, I'd always like for it to come out of the school side when it's the school issue. But am I going to lose any sleep over $40,000 to fix up the fields? The answer is no. Second of all, the issue is you all can pass it, and it's still got to go through the schools, and they have to approve it. So you may not get the work done that Ricky and Tommy are asking for. Now, philosophically, I understand what you're looking at is good old-time politics. You walk in the door and throw $40,000 out and vote on it with another big issue. I've been there, and we will continue to be there. But the issue is here, do we need the work done? It's important. I don't know anything about the issues of whether a coach can come out of the dugout. You and I are the same age, coaches, and players all sat on the bench for a long time, and but I do know if it's for safety and if it's for maintenance and things like that, Mr. Williams, then we need to be doing that here in the county. And their budget, I don't think this has gone through the school budget. I think this group right here said, let's put it on there, something we needed for spring. Now, that's your all's decision.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I remember there was a time, not a few years ago, when you were umpiring and you threatened to throw me out of the ballpark about the league.
I understand that. I was a 50-pound slider pinstripe shirt on and a whistle, and you were out of line, so I'm going to sit down.
All right, let's get back in control here. Commissioner Smith, please.
Mr. Chairman, would you restate the motion and clarify what the vote is?
Where we are at this point in time, we have reconsidered 110726. We initially approved it, and it passed when we voted on it as amended, 21 to 1. So the resolution was just approved to reconsider it. We reconsidered it. We then reconsidered the amendment, and that reconsideration failed. So what we're voting on right now is 110726 as amended, which includes the $40,000 that's been amended in over here, because we approved it, we've undone that. We're now back to voting on it again, Commissioner Smith, to determine if in fact it's the same vote, or we send it, as Commissioner Walton has suggested, back through the committee system. That's what we're voting on.
So, Mr. Chairman, a yes vote right now is to reapprove what we originally approved.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two hopefully quick questions. Are there other situations at schools across the county that are in the same situation?
Well, the answer that was asked, that question was asked earlier, and the answer was yes, there are others.
So I'm wondering why pick out two particular situations and not send it back through committee and give a chance for people to look through and understand, you know, what this is about, and if there are other schools that have this particular need. My second question is, the schools have an athletic facility committee that they've set up, so they've set up a structure within the school board to look at these, and we considered some of their recommendations tonight. Was this ever identified through that committee as a safety issue?
Mr. Fortney, would you come to the podium, please, sir? Or Becky, do you know the answer?
I sort of know part of the answer, but I let Mr. Fortney go home because I thought we had finished.
He didn't follow your orders this time.
He said he was leaving, and I didn't look behind me. He might be able to answer that. We do have a committee, an athletic committee, that's looked at a number of things, but I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, they've looked at a number of things, and we considered a whole slew of them last year, and then another slew of them this year. And I don't know if this is one of the issues that was identified from that committee as a safety issue from there, out of that committee.
Neither do I.
Do you know, Mr. Fortney?
It is not to this date. No, not to this date.
It's not been identified to this date.
Not been brought to us and not been identified by us.
That seems to be the appropriate place, Mr. Chairman, for that to come from, in my opinion, is to come from that group. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis, please.
I think this point is made, so I'll make it very quickly. We really need to go through committees, and we also need to go through staff on any of these things that we do. The second point is equity, and Commissioner Ford was just getting at that. There are other places in the county. Should we all just start amending everything so we can add it for the schools that are in our district? Because if that's the way we're going to do it, then we'll have to add a lot more amendments. Because we can't sit here and get back out of balance like we're going to let ourselves do after we just spent 2 years trying to get in balance, and with a great deal of cooperation and support from everybody. Thanks. But I have to vote for this because, as restated, this would send the whole thing back. If we vote to turn this down, it's not the $40,000 amendment anymore. It's the entire thing, which then we can't bond. So I'm going to vote for this, but the way the amendment was done is not correct. excuse me, correct amendment technically, but not the right thing to do.
Commissioner Tommy Little?
I can answer as part of the softball fields for the county high schools. There is one other in the same situation, and that is the Franklin High Field, which when it was done, their parents asked it to be done that way because of the seating could be arranged like that, with the dugouts farther out and the seating where they could have a view of the game. At Page, when we met with the architects, we asked the opposite. We asked that it not be built that way, and we were told, no, it was going to be. So as far as another high school being built that way, they selected to have theirs that way. We did not. So, and as far as the committee process, I will apologize for that. I was advised to do it this way tonight, and that's what I did, and in the future, I will not do it that way.
Commissioner Hancock?
Call for the question.
Question been called for. All in favor? Call the question. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
point of order. I want to make sure I understand what I'm voting for.
Okay.
Something Mr. Davis said concerned me. If we vote no,
Can it be amended again?
if we vote no, then that whole thing is null and void,
The entire resolution would go.
and it couldn't even be brought up for as far as the whole bond issue.
Got you locked in, that was the intent.
Well, as chairman, I have to give you all of our options, and we are back at square one. This has been reconsidered, and if we vote this now, it'll either be approved or voted back. It can still be amended at this point in time. I mean, I'll still entertain amendments if you choose to do that.
Well, the amendment's already failed.
That's right.
All right.
It
So now
failed.
we're back, but if we vote no, then
This will send the entire resolution, 110726, back through committee.
well, and for that purpose alone, I will vote yes. Had it not been for that, I would have voted no, because I think it should go through the committees. Thank you. That clarified it for me.
Okay? Okay, 110726, as amended, which includes the $40,000 for Page and Fairview. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Has everybody voted that wishes to vote? Record the vote, please, Jeff.
18 yes, 4 no.
Okay, 18 for, 4 no. So resolution 110726 as amended. We need to vote again? We did. Okay, so we're finished on that one. 18-4, so that resolution is adopted. 18-4, 4 no. Moving on. Okay. 110708, resolution appropriating $62,045 federal and state adult education funds for stipends and other non-personnel issues. Commissioner Davis.
Move for approval.
Motion is made and seconded. School board report, 11 yes, 0 no. Education committee.
2 yes, 2 no.
Budget committee.
4 yes, 0 no.
Explanation, Commissioner Davis.
This is federal and state grant for the purpose of providing U.S. government and citizenship education to non-English speakers in the county with a 5% county match in kind.
Okay, any questions of Commissioner Davis on 110708? See none. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Commissioner Hayes. Record a vote, please.
18 yes, 4 no.
18 yes, 4 no. Resolution is adopted. Resolution 110714, resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Williamson County Public Library budget by $20,646.39. Revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Barnwell.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Green, the second. Library Board Trustees.
6-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee.
4-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Barnwell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is just a housekeeping exercise to account for the donations we've received from various individuals and locations, cities, municipalities, and the Friends of the Library.
Questions of Commissioner Barnwell? See none. If you're in favor of 110714, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Has everybody voted that wishes to vote? Commissioner Davis? Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 110716, resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Community Development Department budget by $100,000 to secure consultant services to effect revisions to the Williamson County zoning ordinance as mandated by a comprehensive land use plan. Commissioner Hayes.
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Cook, the second. Budget Committee report.
4-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Planning Commission, Commissioner Walton.
8-4-0 against.
Thank you, sir. Explanation, Commissioner Hayes and Walton.
As last month, you remember, we approved our comprehensive land plan. That was the map that, or how, where we want to go. But we needed to do further study now to get our ordinances, to get our objectives, to get all of the strategic dialogue through public input, through revision of our zoning ordinances, and a real hard look at what we're doing and where we're going to go. I would like to refer any questions that you might have to Joe Horn, who is here. We had the need, we sought the need to get a consultant back in so we can go around for other public inputs, and $100,000 is in the budget at this point. The feeling was that we needed perhaps as much as $200,000, but with the assurance what we don't use, what we don't need, we will not use. But we didn't want to come short and be just a little bit short of finishing a product and not having the money to complete it as it should be completed with much public input still.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes. Any questions of Commissioner Hayes on this resolution? This is funding the continuation and implementation of the comprehensive land use plan that you have a copy of tonight. Any questions? In favor of 110716, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record a vote, please.
21 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Resolution is adopted. Resolution 110717, resolution of intent to provide matching grant funds in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for stall barn construction at the Ag Expo Park and amending the 2007-8 capital projects budget. Revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Hayes.
Move approval. Second.
Second, Commissioner Cook. Budget Committee report, Commissioner Little.
4-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Hayes.
We have discovered that the State of Tennessee Department of Agriculture is offering grants of up to $100,000 for improvements and capital products to enhance county fairs and other agricultural products or venues. We are wanting to request this grant with the idea that since there has to be an equal match, that if we get the grant of $100,000 from the State Department of Agriculture, we will have the $100,000 to match it to build that barn. because if we don't get that grant, we will not build the barn. So if we don't get the money, we will not build the barn, and this will be null and void. If we do get the $100,000 grant, then we're getting a $200,000 barn for $100,000. So there's no really way to lose, and it is coming through the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions of Commissioner Hayes? Commissioner Williams, please.
Mr. Chairman, do we need the barn?
We do.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. To increase our revenue.
And increase our revenue?
Right, we can rent out more barns, more stalls. We have them there. More things.
Well, that opens up another whole can of worms. I'm not going there.
We'll take that up another day.
Other questions on 110717? See none. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted, wish to vote. Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 110718. Requested by Commissioner Hayes. Resolution transferring $384,776.46 between major categories within the 2007-08 budget. Commissioner Hayes, please.
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Smith, the second. Budget Committee report.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Hayes.
Yes, I know you're aware that the CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau, is an independent agency at this point. 1% of the hotel lodging was dedicated through your budgeting to that cause. Up through September, our David Coleman, our accounting department, kept the books for the CVB while they were making the transition. At this point, at the end of September, it is the wish for this to be turned over to them in quarterly payments. And Kelly is here tonight, who is the acting director, and can answer any questions. David has taken what you see before us. He's taken away from the total 524,000 down to what is remaining of the 1%. And as you saw last month in our handout, each person in Williamson County has saved $325 because of the Convention Visitors Bureau lodging tax and the tourism that it is managing to save for us. It is a good item, and if you have any questions, David can answer about that. Kelly can answer about our plan. But this is to get everything going. It will be made in quarterly. We do have the accounting firm of Parsons and Associates who will be helping us maintain everything all strict and looked at carefully. We have here our own Commissioner Smith is our treasurer of our CVB, and Mrs. Mills and Mrs. Cook serve on that board, and so it will have much oversight, I assure you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of Commissioner Hayes? I see none. 110718 is up for your consideration. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anybody wish to vote, record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. 22 yes. Resolution is unanimously adopted. Late file resolution number 110731. Resolution appropriating, 22. Resolution number 110722. Resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement for stormwater management services with AMAC Earth and Environmental Incorporated and amending the 2007-08 capital projects budget by an amount not to exceed $245,500. Commissioner Walton, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Mills, the second. There is an amendment, if you look down under expenditures, and this is just a typo that we need to correct, Mr. Whidbey, is under consultants, it should be 171.91200, so change the 101 to 171 policer.
Yes, sir.
Planning Commission report, Commissioner Walton.
9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Walton.
Yes, sir. This is money to allow a study in the stormwater basin in the Cartwright Creek, Linwood area.
Any questions of Commissioner Walton on this agreement, this resolution? I see none. If you're in favor of 110722, press yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted that wishes to vote, please. Record the vote, sir.
22 yes.
Thank you. 22 yes, 0 no. Resolution unanimously adopted. Late file resolution number 110731. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2007-8 Administration of Justice budget by $11,111.11. Revenues to come from state grant. Commissioner Little.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Walton, the second. Budget Committee report.
4 0 against.
Explanation, please, sir.
I see that we've altered some numbers on this, but I have not, I don't know why yet. So could we have Mr. Coleman up here to, this is something new since we've had our budget meeting.
Yeah, we're proposing an amendment. You've been handed a proposed amendment to this resolution. Would you explain it, Mr. Coleman, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We received a letter from the state about 2 weeks ago, and that's when we filed this late file resolution for the $11,111.11. And Friday, we received a second letter where they have approved an additional amount, and all the paperwork has to be done and turned in by February the 28th, I believe. So that's why we're asking for this amendment to get it all on at one time. This will go for upgrades at the circuit court system.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend this.
Second.
Motion is made and amended and made by Commissioner Little and second by Commissioner Smith. We accept this proposed amendment that's changing the amount to $19,999.11. The revenues will be $17,999.20 with unappropriated county general funds of $1,999.91. And the total amount will be $19,999.11. That's the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? If you're in favor of the amendment, press yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. 22 yes. Motion is amended, so we're now voting on Resolution 110731 as amended. Any questions on 110731 as amended? See none. If you're in favor of 110731 as amended, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please, Jeff.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution is adopted. Resolution 11071. Resolution to adopt the provisions of 2007 Public Chapter 586 regarding the imposition of a booking fee. Commissioner Smith.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Davis, the second. Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee.
Approved 7-0.
Budget Committee.
4 0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This is just implementation of a booking fee that state is now allowing under state law.
Questions of Commissioner Smith? I see none. If you're in favor, press the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 11079. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Purchasing Department to raise the bidding exception for purchases under $5,000 to purchases under $10,000. Commissioner Langston.
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Barnwell, the second. Purchasing and Insurance Committee.
3-4-0 against.
Thank you. Budget Committee.
4 0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Langston, please.
This past spring, the General Assembly raised the amount that could be purchased without bidding from $5,000 to $10,000. It's been recommended by the Purchasing Department that we do that.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Commissioner Langston? I see none. If you're in favor, press the yes button. Excuse me.
Let me make
Excuse me,
one,
Commissioner Little, I'm sorry.
just want to make one thing clear, that this doesn't mean that we will not bid. We still have the right to bid purchases under $10,000, but it gives us the right to not do so also.
Good point. Thank you, sir. 1107-9, if you're in favor, press the yes button. Opposed, your no button. It's just giving us an option. Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you, sir. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution declaring 3 parcels of real property owned by Williamson County as surplus property. Commissioner Green.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Williams, the second. Budget Committee report.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Property Committee.
5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Green.
Yes, this is 3 pieces of property that have been required because of lack of payment of county property taxes. And after reviewing it, these parcels determined they're of no use, no public use. So therefore, we'd like to declare them as surplus property.
Questions of Commissioner Green. See none. In favor of 1107-15, press the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Mr. Ford. Thank you, sir. Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution is adopted. Resolution 1107-19, resolution amending the rules of procedure for the Williamson County Board of Commissioners relating to Rule 8.3.J, Fiscal Planning Committee. Commissioners Hester, Wilson, Walton, Langston, Brockman. Somebody? Commissioner Hester.
Second.
Commissioner Walton, the second. Steering Committee report.
3-5-1 against as amended.
Thank you. Budget Committee.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Rules Committee.
5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Hester is the Rules Committee Chairman.
Well, this concerns the rules and procedures that we look at least once a year. We are currently restricted to 2 county commissioners from the same district while serving on the same committees. And as an unintended result, this restricts the number of committees that may be in existence at one time. The Fiscal Planning Committee has not met for a couple of years. We do not have a chairman, so this is simply to plan for the committees.
The Steering Committee, would you report on the amendment that was offered through Steering Committee, please?
It said that if this was approved, that the responsibility of the 5-year capital improvement plan be assumed by the Budget Committee.
Okay.
Second.
It's a proper amendment. Commissioner Little made the second to the amendment that the 5-year CIP plan be done by the Budget Committee. That's the amendment to 1107-19. Commissioner Barnwell, please.
Yes, on the amendment, I served on the Budget Committee my first year in the Commission, and one of the things that I've bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I went in there and I said, well, I'd like to see a budget for the, capital improvements for next year, following year, and the year after that, and I was told, Budget Committee does not have time nor the desire to do this particular program, and there's a specific committee for this, and that's the Fiscal Planning Committee, so I sort of have a hard time with this amendment. Thank you.
Very good. Other discussion on the amendment. The amendment is to have the 5-year CIP plan assumed by the Budget Committee. That's the amendment offered by Commissioner Mills and the Steering Committee. Any further discussion? See none. If you're in favor of this amendment, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Has everybody voted that wishes to vote? Record the vote, please.
19 yes, 3 no.
19 yes, 3 no. The resolution is adopted, or this amendment is adopted. So we're back to the original resolution 1107-19 as amended. Anybody wishing to discuss 1107-19 as amended? Commissioner Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little confused about especially the fourth whereas, where it talks about 2 county commissioners. I think we addressed that in our rules, that this particular committee that is set up to be made up of vice chairs of several others was exempted from that rule. So we did allow 2 commissioners from the same district as this, and I don't understand how this committee being in effect or not effect restricts the number of committees. I don't understand how that relates back in. Can somebody enlighten me on those 2 points?
Council Cook, please.
Mr. Chairman, what this language here means, what this whereas means is that not just generally this committee, but other committees that aren't needed and not used. What happens is that you do get a problem with 2 at a time, which in the end would affect the Fiscal Planning Committee, because you wouldn't have enough people to serve on the different committees. So does it affect this one? Actually, it could in a roundabout way, that you would not have a number of people to fill these positions because of the conflict in this language, like we had earlier this year. So that's basically the reason. I mean, it was just a general purpose of ensuring that we do not have extra committees just sitting out there and not being effective.
Follow-up, Commissioner Ford.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as you know, and a number of people on the board know who were around, I've been a proponent of this committee and have worked hard on this committee for a few years. And if you remember back, this committee actually delivered in a couple of 5-year plans that the entire body had in effect. And we were actually heard from all the different groups, and this committee did deliver in those 5-year plans. I think we've seen tonight how in the Parks and Rec, how not having those 5-year plans has caused us some consternation about what's going to go on these other fields. So I think this committee is needed. It hasn't been active for a couple of years, but I think that this commission, rather than saying let's eliminate any type of planning, ought to encourage the vice chairs of the various committees who are appointed to this to meet and ask for a report back from them.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Barnwell, please.
Yes, I'm a proponent of this committee, and I went back and read the original resolutions, and the initial thought behind the Fiscal Planning Committee was to have the chairmen of all these committees be on the fiscal planning to do the 5-year look ahead, and that was changed back to the vice chairs. And I think the only problem you may have is there may be one person that's 2 vice chairs on a committee. I think the fact that there should be a waiver for same district commissioners if they are vice chairs be on this committee. And as Commissioner Ford has pointed out, we approved $4 million today out of the thin air. I mean, the first time I saw that was last week when I went to the Budget Committee meeting. I didn't go to the Parks and Rec, I will admit, but that type of thing should not occur. I think we potentially are being a little financially irresponsible by not having a Fiscal Planning Committee and projecting our future. I mean, that's the role of this commission, and the Budget Committee neither has the time nor the patience to do this, and I would recommend that this resolution be defeated.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bain, please.
Call the question.
Second.
Question being called for. All in favor, call the question. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1107-19 is up for consideration as amended. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anybody wish to vote? Record a vote, please.
18 yes, 4 no.
Thank you. Resolution 1107-19 is approved. 18 for, 4 against. Resolution 1107-21. Excuse me, 1107-20. Resolution amending the rules and procedure for the Williamson County Board of Commissioners relating to Rule 10-1B. Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Wilson, the second. Rules Committee.
5-4-0.
Thank you. Explanation, please.
This is strictly housekeeping. There is an incorrect page number reference. The reference to page 22 is incorrect. So we're just changing this to have a reference to the situation which applies. So it's just an incorrect page number.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions? Commissioner Hester? I see none. If you're in favor of 110720, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. 22 yes. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 110721, resolution amending the rules and procedure for the Williamson County Board of Commissioners relating to Rule 8.4C2. Commissioner Hester, please.
Move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Wilson. Rules Committee.
This is concerning the current language. Again, this is some clarification in the rules. The duties and the responsibilities of the Insurance Committee are combined with the Purchasing Committee, but no reference is made to the resolution which combined the committees. So to avoid any future confusion, as to the creation of the Joint Purchasing and Insurance Committee, the Williamson County Board of, tonight we wish to clarify this.
Thank you, ma'am. The vote of the Rules Committee, Sir Clerk, was 5-4-0 against. Thank you. Any questions of Commissioner Hester? See none. Press the yes button if you're in favor, your no button if you're against it. Everybody voted wish to vote. Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution is unanimously adopted. Resolution 110723, resolution to support the county twinning project of Williamson County, Tennessee and County Leash, Ireland. Commissioners Hayes and Wilson.
Move to approve.
Motion is made. Second. Commissioner Lynch, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Wilson and Hayes.
Okay. This resolution is to support the effort of County of Williamson County twinning with the County of Leash, Ireland. And that would be, there are many different reasons why we propose to do that, but we would be working with the Convention Visitors Bureau and to foster culture, and there is no money attached to this.
Commissioner Hayes.
Yes, as Cheryl said, there's no money attached to this. I was asked to be a part because of the tourism angle, the Convention Visitors Bureau angle. Kelly has been to Ireland, and she does see potential with the tourism there. She met with tourism officials and feels like there is great potential there from the convention tourism angle. If there's money involved, it will come from our budget, but we look now on getting maybe other sponsorships and other involvements, and of course some through the Sister City program. But we'll be from the tourism angle, and it's a good opportunity for us to make some better relationships between the two countries, I think.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do know that we have hosted some people from Laos County here before, earlier this year. Do we have plans for any staff members, county officials, anybody who falls under our budget or under schools' budgets to go to Ireland at this point? Is there any plans for that?
Commissioner Hayes.
May I direct Kelly Murphy toward that question, please?
Ms. Murphy, would you come to the microphone, please? Identify yourself.
Hello, my name is Kelly Murphy, and I'm the interim executive director for the Williamson County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I would like to call up Doug Sharp, President for the Sister Cities Board, and also Dr. Mark Hilliard with O'More. They can address the educational exchange and the overall exchange that we would have with County Leash.
So what you want to hear, Commissioner?
No, I'm just interested if we have plans for county officials of things that we're budgeting to go to Ireland.
We would hope that county officials would be included. There's not been anything budgeted. At this point, it is the educational level.
Okay, so if that does happen, then that'll come through a budgeting process, and we'll see it at that point.
At that point, yes, and we are making efforts for fundraising on our own as a Sister Cities Board.
That's really all I had.
Unless it's a CPP.
Yeah.
Other questions, Commissioner Bain?
I'd like to make an amendment. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, whereas, says whereas no local funds are required to initiate the agreement, I would like to amend that to say no local funds will be used no local funds will be used to initiate the agreement. Yeah. Well, what it's saying is that none's required to initiate it. I'm saying none will be used, period. That's my amendment.
Second.
The amendment is that state your amendment.
No county funds will be used to initiate or further this agreement.
And that's your second. Could I ask a point of clarification for you, Kelly? Is all you're asking, if I understand it, is that we adopt this as a document to say, yes, we would like to consider twinning and working with that city. Are you asking for anything other than that?
No, that's all we're asking for.
And are there any expenses involved at all in saying, yes, we'd like to twin with Leash, Ireland?
None at all.
Well, that's the amendment's appropriate. I just want to make sure that what you were asking for, because there are no funds in the budget, and you're not asking for any.
No.
Okay.
And we're not offering. I'm not offering any.
That's a proper amendment. We've got the amendment by Commissioner Bain, second by Commissioner Ford. That you've heard the amendment. Discussion on the amendment. Commissioner Mills, please.
You've clarified what I wanted to say, that we were not asking for funds.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Commissioner Smith?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I understand the intent of the amendment. It's obviously if public funds were to be requested to be used for this at some point, that request would have to come to this body, which would then vote whether or not to allow any public funds to be used in any way for this project. It seems to me that the amendment that's been offered is superfluous to the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hayes, back to you.
I guess my question to Tom was just, what is he calling public funds? Is he saying that when we come back and ask, or are you saying because lodging money goes to the CVB, you're prohibiting any lodging money from the CVB to go to there?
No, what I'm saying, Judy, and this came up last spring and I voted against it.
I understand.
I've been through this other places, and I just don't think that taxpayers' money ought to go to this kind of project. It's something that's worthwhile, it's good, I support it. I would spend my own money conceivably to go to Ireland, but I don't think the county taxpayers ought to do that, and that's all I'm trying to say.
Okay. I see where you're going, but I'm not sure whether this gets us there or not.
Commissioner Wilson, please.
I appreciate what Commissioner Bain said, but I have a problem with someone that is making a decision for himself and not allowing the other, for the county to be able to participate as well as the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the education swapping of students. being able to do that. If one situation didn't work for that one community, I feel that it ought to be able to be shared and tried, and that's all it is.
Are you saying that
There-
we should spend taxpayer dollars on this?
I'm saying that your amendment, I do not feel is appropriate, and I just think that your personal opinion of a situation has maybe affected.
Well, there's fixing to be 24 personal opinions voted. And you, last year, brought this before us and said there would be no money required, and you came back a month later and there was money required. And I'm saying that it's time to stop that.
Well, we'll vote and see.
Commissioner Chalfont?
Once again, I'll call the question.
Question been called for. All in favor, call the question, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll be voting on 110720, excuse me, we're going to be voting on the amendment. The amendment, without putting words in Commissioner Bain's mouth, I'll allow you to repeat it, and then we'll vote on that. Commissioner Bain, repeat your amendment, please, sir.
Well, I'm not sure I can repeat. Do we not record it? Do we not have it?
It's up there.
No county funds will be used. That's
Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay, Tom?
Sure.
Okay. And that's the second. So we're voting on 110723. That no county funds will be used in this resolution. All those in favor of the amendment, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody vote who wishes to vote. Record a vote, please.
12 yes, 10 no.
Okay, 12 yes, 10 no, so the motion is defeated. The resolution as presented, 110723, is up for consideration. Any further discussion on the original motion? Because it has not been amended. Voting on the original motion, 110723. If you're in favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody vote, wish to record a vote, please.
21 yes, 1
Thank
no.
you. 21 yes, 1 no. Resolution is adopted. 21 yes, 1 no. Resolution 110724. Resolution authorizing the issuance of an interest-bearing county general projects one-year capital outlay note, Series 2007 of Williamson County, Tennessee, in the principal amount of $3,526,000, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said note, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of tax for the payment of principal thereof and interest thereon. Motion by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Green. Budget Committee report, Commissioner Little.
4 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, please, sir.
The county, every now and then, to fund capital projects before we go to market with bonding in order to fund some things, and particularly in this one, we need equipment and fixtures for the Longview Recreational Center, and so we need to borrow some money from ourselves in the amount of $3,526,000 on a short-term basis until we go to bond.
Thank you, sir. Questions of Commissioner Little? I see none. In favor, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Has everybody voted that wishes to vote? Record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution 110727. Resolution authorizing the issuance of hospital revenue and tax refunding bonds in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $27,040,000 of Williamson County, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof, and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of premium, if any, and interest on the bonds. Commissioner Little.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Chalfont. Budget Committee report.
4-0 against.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Little.
This resolution and the two following it are companion resolutions. We are authorizing to go back and refund these bonds if the market conditions happen to fall where it will save us a bunch of money. This gives the county mayor's office the authority to do that. Says there are 3 resolutions here. It's the same explanation for all of them, but to refund these bonds, excuse me, to save money. We will not be extending the terms of them. Like I said, just looking for better interest rates.
Thank you, sir. Questions, Commissioner Hancock, please.
That was my question. I knew that we weren't extending the terms on the county bonds. I just wanted to be sure that on the hospital bonds it was the same. We're not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These bonds are currently being paid for by the hospital, is that correct?
Yes.
And this does not change anything with that? The hospital is still responsible for paying the bonds?
That's correct.
Thank you.
No change.
Other questions of Commissioner Little on 110727? Thank you. If you're in favor, press your yes button. 110727. If you're against it, press your no button. Everybody voted that wishes to vote. Record the vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you, sir. 22 yes. Resolution unanimously adopted. 110728, a resolution authorizing the issuance of county district school refunding bonds in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $28,500,000 of Williamson County, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of premium, if any, and the interest on the bonds. Commissioner Little.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hancock, the second. Budget Committee report.
4-0 again.
Thank you. Explanation, Commissioner Little.
Same explanation. This involves school bonds.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Commissioner Little, again, opportunity to save money and does not extend the length of the bond. If you're in favor of 110728, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody's voted, wish to vote, record a vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you. Resolution unanimously adopted. 110729, a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $19,700,000 of Williamson County, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof, and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of premium, if any, and interest on the bonds. Commissioner Little.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Mills, the second. Budget Committee report.
4-0 against.
Thank you, sir. Explanation.
We did tell them the explanation. These bonds are involving county general.
Thank you, sir. Questions of Commissioner Little on this resolution regarding general obligation bonds? See none. If you're in favor of 110729, press your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted that wishes to vote. Record the vote, please.
22 yes.
Thank you, sir. 22 yes. Resolution unanimously adopted. Resolution number 110730, resolution to overrule the denial of the Franklin Planning Commission's action regarding the Williamson County Hospital District's construction of a parking garage for the hospital. Commissioner Little.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Chalfont. Williamson County Hospital District Board voted. What was that vote, Commissioner Little?
It was unanimous.
Okay, unanimous vote. Budget Committee.
3-4, 1 against.
Okay, explanation, please, sir.
Williamson Medical Center is involved in building a parking garage, and in order for us to finish this project, the City of Franklin Planning Commission threw some conditions on this, that we finish a sidewalk that is not part of this project. We are asking to overrule or deny the Franklin Planning Commission's authority over this and allow the hospital to go ahead and complete this project. We have Roger Klein, the Chief Operating Officer of Williamson Medical Center, who is also here. I'd like to let him further explain this.
Mr. Klein, please.
Thank you. Yeah, we've applied for a building permit to begin our garage project and received 18 comments from the Franklin Codes Administration. We are prepared to address all of those except for the sidewalk issue. They will not accept our explanation on the other points because they only accept an explanation if it's complete in the entirety. So because we refuse to address the sidewalk issue, they will not, we're sort of at loggerheads and can't get our building permit. We believe that the sidewalk issue and the garage issue are separate and should be separated, and the passing of this resolution would break those apart and let us get started on the garage project. That's what we're asking.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Pear, please.
I've spoken to Dennis Miller, spoken to Roger Klein, spoken to numerous people at the city, and you know, it's pretty much a mess. You know, I've talked to them and tried to understand why they think we should build it, and I've tried to understand why the hospital thinks we shouldn't build it. I mean, in this resolution, it says that it's economically and practically infeasible to build it, that it would dramatically increase the cost of construction of the project and place undue burden on the hospital. This is a many million-dollar project. Does anybody honestly believe that one sidewalk is really going to make it economically and practically unfeasible and dramatically increase the cost of the project? I don't believe that. And talking to Franklin and talking back and forth, it seems like there hasn't been enough communication really on this of how can we get this sidewalk done. There's one missing piece there. Do we really want to leave that incomplete? Because I really honestly don't think Franklin will complete it if we don't. So it's just going to sit there incomplete for who knows how long. It's one piece of the sidewalk. I really honestly believe we can do it. Talking to them, it sounded like they were willing to let us put a dog leg in it if necessary to bring it closer to our property. They're willing to work with us, and I really think we need to discuss this further and not just overrule them. Not to mention the fact that I asked that it was brought up talking to the hospital. Well, why wasn't this brought up sooner when they did the expansion of the medical center? So I asked them that. They didn't have a clear answer at first, but then they went back and pulled the approved plans, and I've got a copy of it, anybody can see it if they want, of what was submitted when we said we wanted to expand the property. On that plan, it shows the sidewalk, that was part of what we were going to do. Now, was that negotiated out later, somehow separate from these plans? I don't know. But the approved plans, which we submitted to them, and they approved, shows that we were going to build the sidewalk back when we expanded the property. Now, expanded the campus. I don't know why that wasn't done. I don't know why they accepted us not doing it, but it wasn't done. And I really think we shouldn't just overrule them this quickly. We should go back, try to negotiate with them again. Talking to them, they acted like they're willing to negotiate how we put that sidewalk in and how we do it. And I honestly think we should give it one more chance. If it doesn't work, if we negotiate in good faith and they do too, and it doesn't work, bring it back in January and then we can overrule them then. But I really honestly don't think, talking to them and talking to the hospital, that that's really been done to find a way to get this built. Because if we overrule it, it won't get built and it'll be left undone. And I don't think that's fair to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chalfant, please.
Having served over the last number of years as chairman of building and grounds for the hospital, we followed this project all the way through. It is my understanding we got conditional approval to do precisely what we're doing. You ask about an incidental as far as parking lot, sidewalk is concerned. It's not incidental simply because it would, to correct the situation now, require retaining walls, plus there are utilities that are in that area that would all have to be moved and all have to be shifted in order to accommodate a second thought on behalf of the Franklin Planning Commission. As I said, we did get conditional, it's my understanding that we did receive conditional approval of the plan as it stands. As we go from December, January, February, that'll do absolutely nothing more than raise the cost more. We had to do a temporary parking lot, parking area, which with the cooperation of the county highway department helped us tremendously in allowing temporary parking for the employees. That's long since been finished. But we're still deadlocked because they changed their mind. Either they rediscovered that it was on the original or whatever it was, but they came back and stopped us. We had conditional approval to start with. Now, we've tried to do everything possible on that, but it will just simply cost more and more money in order to have to go back. As I say, it's going to require terracing, and it's not just a little piece of concrete. If it were, we'd be happy to take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hayes?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Rogers a question, please?
Yes, please.
It's my understanding that at one point in the partnerships of the road, that the hospital did give to the city some money. I want to think in excess of $300,000. Could you tell us what partnerships you have had?
Yes, ma'am. The hospital has contributed $339,000 to the construction of Carruthers Parkway to cover the part that crossed our property. We also contributed an amount not to exceed $100,000 to cover one of the roundabouts on the Curd Lane side of the street as well. And we also allowed the city an easement for our pond, which allows them to include that in their stormwater runoff plan for the Carruthers Parkway project. So we feel like we've done quite a bit already to step up and be a good citizen. And I will point out that the sidewalk is finished on Carruthers Parkway on every foot of that parkway except where it crosses our property. And the reason I think it's not done is because it's difficult to do. Mr. Chalfont's right. There's buried utilities there. There's retaining wall issue. This is a 500-foot length. We think it should have been addressed when Carruthers Parkway was addressed and finished. It wasn't. I don't know why it was apparently on the 2002 plans but didn't get built that way. But the city did sign off and give us a certificate of completion for our project according to their codes inspection, which, this was a 5-year project that was very complicated. I'm sure that changes were made along the way, but the city in the end signed off on the completion of the project. So I really can't I can't explain why the sidewalk wasn't built then, but I think that sort of underscores the issue here. We need to separate the sidewalk issue from the garage issue. We need that parking, and we need to get started right now.
Just because you're asking for this to happen tonight does not, in your mind, though, close the door for potential partnerships and looking for a resolution. Is that right? But you just don't need to be held up on your
right.
procedure.
We want to get our project started, the garage project. We'd be happy to continue to talk to the city about the sidewalk, but in talking just as late as today to some of the other property owners, the other property owners have apparently not been asked to pay for the sidewalk that crossed their property. And so we don't understand why we're being asked to pay for the sidewalk that crosses ours, except for the fact that it's a difficult job.
But in your mind, the communication line is still open.
Still
you
open.
Need to press on.
Yeah, we'd be glad to talk to them about it.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Well, Mr. Klein answered or stated one of the points I was going to make. what we're being asked to do tonight does not preclude further discussion with the city about the sidewalk, but it does separate the issue so that the hospital is not negotiating at the point of a gun, which is what we've got now. Our patients and visitors desperately need additional parking. And as long as they're holding up a building permit for this particular purpose, we're having to negotiate at the point of gun.
Thank you. Commissioner Parr, follow up?
Yeah, I would like to ask Mr. Klein a question. Did you talk to the city about diverting, creating maybe a dog leg and diverting it closer up to your property? And were they responsive to that?
Yeah.
Did you talk to them about that?
Yeah, we've had several discussions with them, and I personally participated in a discussion where Eric Gardner was present from the city engineering department, and I thought we had a compromise agreement worked out where we were not going to complete the sidewalk that crossed our property, but we're going to do something in front of the building known as the Lakeview Building that would connect that sidewalk from Lakeview onto the Women's Center there, the Franklin Women's Center on the south side of the project. But we had all sort of agreed that trying to cross the main portion of our property was going to be almost too difficult to do. There's the buried utility issue. There are extreme changes in the elevation to deal with, and to keep that thing handicap accessible is going to be a challenge, and it won't be cheap. There's no question about this is not going to be cheap. So I thought at that point, that was back during the summer, I thought that ourselves and the engineering department had an agreement, and I think that we did have a handshake agreement, which the Planning Commission apparently has resurrected the sidewalk issue.
But again, did you guys talk about diverting it up closer to your property, not running it down close to the street, but diverting it close? Because that's one thing they proposed to me today and said they would be more than willing. They said that would be much less cost, and they would be more than willing to accept that, it sounded like. So I'm just curious, did you actually negotiate on that point?
Well, yeah, but you still have the grade issue to overcome to meet ADA, and those slopes that are allowed under ADA are very gradual. No matter which way you go with that sidewalk, it's not going to be an easy deal to do. That's why it's not done now. I mean, that's in my mind, that's why the rest of Carruthers Parkway has sidewalks, and this piece that we're talking about does not. We just think it ought to be separated from the garage so we can get started.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While we're meeting here tonight, there's a new administration being installed in Franklin, and I tend to agree with Commissioner Parra that there could be some talks with the new administration, and perhaps with the new mayor appointing a new planning commission, perhaps there could be more favorable talks. I'd like to suggest that perhaps the appropriate action on this tonight, since there is a lot of discussion about this, is to defer this until our January meeting. I'd like to ask Mr. Klein, before I suggest that officially, if we were to move the consideration of this resolution to January, how does that affect your timelines in your project?
We were hoping to start on November the 5th, and November the 5th is come and gone.
Yeah.
Contractor is ready to go. We're ready to go. We don't want to lose 60 more days talking about this issue.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hancock?
Call the question. Second.
Question been called for. All in favor, call the question, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Question been called. 11:07:30 to overrule the denial of Franklin Planning Commission parking garage. If you're in favor of this resolution, press the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everybody voted wish to vote. Record the vote, please.
21 yes, 1 no.
21 yes, 1 no. Resolution is adopted.
Move for adjournment.
I think that concludes. Your second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in adjournment. Thank you very much. See you in January.